Hello. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 3 of the Formula SimRacing World Championships, coming to you today from the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona in Spain. We've had an unbelievable opening 2 rounds in the championship, and we should be looking forward to some very exciting racing this afternoon. Apologies for any viewers who tuned in to watch Ace yesterday. There were some issues with the rFactor 2 matchmaker service, which is really quite critical to get people onto the server, and that prevented Ace from being run. But the pro race was run successfully earlier today. We had some great racing there, and Catalunya is a very, very different track to what we've had so far, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on that now. That a little bit later, the server is just being set now. The weather plugin is updating itself. We, as always, are running real-time, real-world weather here, so we're plugged into a weather station quite near the circuit, and that gives us live weather, both in terms of temperature and in terms of precipitation. So if it starts to rain within a minute or so, we will start to see rain on the server. So there's just that extra edge of unpredictability. So we can see now some drivers are starting to move out towards to do their first qualifying lap. I'll just get myself tuned in with who's going to do a hot lap in a moment. The selected tyres for this round are the medium and hard compound, so no softs and super softs. And the track is a very different nature to what we've experienced so far. Both Melbourne and Bahrain tended to feature fairly short radius corners, sort of second, third gear corners, and some quick straights tying them all together. So not that punishing on tyres. Catalunya's got some much longer high G corners, which really puts a lot of energy into the tyres. At turn 3, of course, the site of Fernando Alonso's accident at the beginning of last season is a perfect example. But as you travel around this track, there's a lot of work going into your tyres. So there's a different emphasis when the guys set the cars up, and in fact it could well mean that we look at a very different or slightly different nuance to the outcome today. The prime tyre has an offset of about 0.75 of a second on full fuel, so it's 3/4 of a second slower. The option tyre is therefore 3/4 of a second quicker on full fuel and about half a second quicker on low fuel. So the primes are probably best used late in the race, and they're mega consistent. The options tend to go away from you after about 10 laps. Now I'm just watching Jerome Quakel now as he performs his... sorry, if I can switch back. Kuba Brzezinski has gone purple in Sector 1, so I might just have a bit of a look at Kuba. He's now heading up to the very tight turn 10 to finish off Sector 2. Really tight Sector 3 in this track. It's a very, very twisty, turny section where it's a real battle to keep the car balanced and accelerating the way you want it to. Fairly aggressive line there through the final chicane, which is the only way to go fast. And now as Kuba rounds the final corner, gets the boost on, gets the rear wing open, and goes into provisional pole. So a great lap from Kuba, but immediately beaten by Francesco Bigazzi, Italian driver. Fabulous qualifier, and in fact Jerome Quakel has gone ahead of Kuba as well. We may see the drivers going sub 120. All the drivers are required to use their race setup in both qualifying sessions. So in days of old we'd have seen special trick qualifying setups with lower brake ducting, smaller radiators, etc., which you couldn't manage a full 200 mile or 300 kilometre race distance with, but we're just that little bit quicker. in qualifying. But in 2016, it's Parc Fermé, so all the drivers are required to run their race setup there, except of course for changes to fuel and brake pressure. Now Mohammed Patel has managed to go quicker again. He's now in provisional pole, but the top 4 guys occupying 0.03 of a second, 36 thousandths separating the top 4 drivers, and less than 1/10 of a second separating the top 7. So very, very tight qualifying session. With the usual suspects at the top of the board, Mohammed Patel currently in first, Francesco Bigazzi in second, Jerome Quakel in third, Kuba Brzezinski fourth, Jim Parizis in fifth, Journey Simicic sixth, James Sadler seventh, Giordano Valerano in 8th place, Disley in 9th, and Martin Hodas in 10th. The drivers have got about 15 minutes to go. It's a 20-minute session with unlimited laps in Quali 1. And so the drivers will get some bankers in. A banker lap is where you don't absolutely extend 100% because you don't want to take any risk, to at least get a solid lap down before risking everything in a super hot lap later on. Daniel Kiss has just gone purple in sector 2. And in fact, Daniel Kiss moves up into provisional pole with a stunning lap, a 1:21.210. So fantastic lap there from Daniel. Daniel last season was victorious in both the ACE and the World Championship rounds of Formula Sim Racing at Melbourne, so he's a driver with fantastic pace. And we haven't seen him perform to his potential yet. He had PC issues in Melbourne, which actually in the end caused the contact with Kuba Brzezinski. But if the PC gods are smiling, and if Daniel has a good day, he's capable of taking it right to the front with any of these guys. I'm just seeing now Francesco Bigazzi has gone purple in sector 1, so he appears to be on a good one. And Bigazzi now rounds the final corner, and let's see if he can finish it off. Patel gone purple in sector 2. What's Bigazzi got for us? Yep, the track seems to be getting a little bit quicker as Francesco Bigazzi now goes to provisional P2. And now Patel gone quicker again. And as we suspected, Mohammed Patel has managed to go sub 1:21, which is really quite a sensational performance here at Catalunya. So Patel and Brzezinski currently holding the front row, and the gaps are, if anything, getting a tiny bit bigger. Patel has got 0.18 of a second breathing space now over P2, and he can usually be relied on to put in a very, very strong qualifying performance, Mohammed Patel. In fact, I did suspect that in Bahrain his setup had a slight focus on qualifying rather than race, because sometimes the aero settings that are going to give you a sensational qualifying lap aren't always the aero settings that are going to be tactically the best in the race, because you do need to consider where you're going to attack and where you're going to have the chance to attack and defend for passes. And in Bahrain, of course, it was at the end of that long pit straight, and Mohammed Patel was bouncing off the limiter by the end of the straight. So with a combination of aero and gearing, which was optimised to produce a fantastic single lap time, it did make him vulnerable if anybody got within striking range. But any of you there that haven't seen the race at Bahrain, it was an absolute stunner. With the final pit stops out of the way, the finishing order hadn't been determined. Really, really exciting race, and the driver who was lying in 7th place at about lap 30 ended up taking the victory. But getting back to what we're doing here, Michele D'Alessandro has just gone purple in sector 2, so he seems to be on a good lap, and he's now heading through the twisty sector 3. If he can keep the car balanced, then he seems to be on a very strong line from what I can see. He's putting the car exactly where he wants it to be. And we'll see if Michele D'Alessandro can lower his... yes, and he's lowered his previous best to go on to row 2 provisionally. Taking not a massive amount, 69 hundredths off his previous best lap, but an improvement's an improvement, and row 2 is certainly not to be sneezed at. So I'm looking now, Francesco Bigazzi appears to have gone purple again in sector 1, so he's on a good one. And I'm noticing here Victor Ivanov, who's stepped up from pro for this round, has just set a purple sector 2. I'm on board at the moment with Francesco Bigazzi as he heads through the very tricky final chicane. Got to take just enough curb there, but not so much that you hit those massive red sausage curbs right on the inside, and get the power down as early as you dare. And let's see, and Bigazzi, fantastic lap. Really awesome. Moved up to a provisional pole with that one, a 1:29.73, and 3,000th of a second ahead of Mohammed Patel. So sensational qualifying lap from Francesco there. Having a look at the timing screens now to see what else might be happening of note. Jeroen Quakel has got put together two green sectors, which means personal bests. And he's now coming out of the final complex as well, getting the power down as quickly as he can. And look at that, Jeroen Quakel moves up to provisional pole now. So superb lap from Jeroen. He has done a personal best in sector 1 and 2 and a absolute best time in sector 3. Put together 1:20.920. It looks like the 1:20.9 is probably going to be a very hard barrier to break, but we're currently looking at 3 drivers who've gone under 1:20. The drivers have got the choice in Quali 2 which tyre compound they select, but everybody's going to use the option tyre, the white-walled tyre in Quali 1. Now I'm just noticing here that Daniel Kiss has gone purple in sector 1, so we might have a little bit of a look at Daniel as he comes through the final complex as well. Quite aggressive over the second to last chicane and gassing it up absolutely to the max as he heads onto the pit straight and manages to move up 1 place. Small improvement, but his final sector there wasn't perhaps quite what he wanted. He took about 2/10 off his PB, so to move him into 6th place overall, 3rd row of the grid. So with 7 minutes and 40 seconds left of qualifying, everybody has ample opportunity now to have a couple more hot laps and see what they can deliver. Temperature here trackside at the moment is 16 degrees. It may drop another degree or so as the afternoon progresses here in Catalonia. I've just got a few drivers now just making room for one another, jockeying for position into the final sector, and Jeroen Quakel has just let Brzezinski and Valeriano through so he can get some clear air ahead of him. But Brzezinski's off, pushed it beyond the limit there on the final corner, attempting to start a hot lap. So the pressure is really on, the guys are really at the limit. The top 3 drivers all on a 1:20.9. For anybody who's new to these broadcasts of Formula Sim Racing, just to quickly give you the background, we run a simulation here called rFactor 2, which is the most accurate, the most dynamic and authentic simulation that you can run on basically a PC that you can buy for home. To find a more technically accurate and more demanding simulation, you need to be heading over and sitting in the simulator at a Formula One team. So we've got an amazing simulation here. The car is based on a 2016 Formula One car, complete with hybrid energy and the various levels of downforce and weight and grip and braking. And in fact, I think at Bahrain we were within about a tenth of the real world sector times. So it's an amazingly authentic simulation and a very, very contemporary car. And Formula Sim Racing is really one of the ultimate, if not the ultimate test of open wheel sim racing. If you fancy yourself as a bit of a sim racer, whether you're driving something on Xbox or PlayStation, if you're one of the quickest guys where you race and you really want to go up against the best in the world, Formula Sim Racing is where you do it. We've had a lot of real-world race drivers come and spend time here. Some of the current drivers are actually real-world race drivers in various formats. And we actually had one of our alumni make a debut last weekend in real-world Formula One. But we've got 3 categories. Well, we've got 4 this year. We've got AMA, which is the entry point. The guys wanting to get their toe in the water and see if they've got the ability to race at this level. Then Pro. In Pro, we run 75% distance, real world weather, but not rain. And in both Ace and World Championship, we've got complete real world weather, including rain, and 100% race distance, and no assists whatsoever. So there's no traction control, no ABS, not even auto clutch is allowed in the World Championship. So this is the toughest test that you can find if you want to see how you're going in a high-end sim racing environment. So I'm just watching the timing screens here with 4 minutes to go to see if there's any changes, see if anybody manages to go purple. In theory, the track is now at its best, but sometimes as the session, it's a long session at 20 minutes, and sometimes as it comes to a close, the drivers just haven't really got mentally any more to throw at it. So we'll just see now what people manage to do.
At the moment, David, it looks like Eras Mashuli, who's done 2 personal bests through the first 2 sectors. Marin Godak, the personal best through sector 1. And he's done an okay middle sector at the moment. So Mashuli comes up to the line and improves up to P7, just 3/10 off the pole sitter of Francisco Pagazzi.
And it might be a good moment for me to welcome Daniel Benefield, my co-commentator this afternoon. My name is David O'Reilly, and again, just welcome to anybody who's dropped by to watch the broadcast. Don't be fooled by the accents. This isn't an Australian league. This is an international league. It just so happens that you've got 2 commentators who are both Australians.
Yes, bit ironic at the moment, isn't it? But he's on a lap. So just wanted to say rather quickly, David, that at the moment the top 10 cars are separated by 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, it's incredible tight gap. Before you came on air, I don't know if you saw it, Daniel, but we had a period there where the top 7 were separated by about 50 thousandths of a second, less than a tenth.
Well, we had a 10th covering the top 7, yeah.
So it's the gaps, if anything, have increased a bit, and perhaps it's down to setup. Some of the drivers are able to exploit the improving real road surface. And this simulation features an amazing thing called real road. As the drivers pass over the track, just like in the real world, they leave rubber. So it's not one of these sort of canned environments where there's an algorithm where the track gets grippier. In this one, the track reacts to where cars have driven over it, and they lay rubber down. So the track gets faster dynamically through the session, and same in the race session as well. So it just adds that extra edge of a dynamic environment to what the guys are doing.
So Blair Disley just finished a lap, which kept him in 14th, as did Martin Herder. So it's gone through a bit of a quiet stage at the moment. We've got Francisco Pagazzi about to finish a lap, but it's
he's going into the pits. Yeah, with a minute to go, it's just got that feeling that everybody's perhaps put their best one down, and but let's see if we see any purple signs coming up here on the timing screen. Now, we promised Mike Partington we'd talk a bit about tyre strategy today, Daniel, so but we might do that in the warm-up when there's no exciting qualifying action to call. So shout out to Mike there. We definitely won't forget. Mike was our race winner, I think, in Bahrain in Ace.
Yeah, and he finished 8th in WC as well. So we're starting to get those final lap times in. We've got John Eric Saxon on the personal best and Cooper Brzezinski on the personal best through the first sector. John Eric just coming up to the end of sector 2 now. It's not a personal best, but it's not too far away either. Mashili's on an average lap, as is Simicic and D'Alessandro.
Patel's just about to finish sector 1. And yeah, it's a PB, it's not purple, but a PB. So 22.744.
Saxon comes up to finish his lap now and improves to 17th with a 21.9. So he's green. We've got Brzezinski coming up to the end of his lap, coming through the chicane now. We've got Krakel going purple through sector 1 as well, so we'll get back to that a bit in about 30 seconds time. Brzezinski comes across the line, does improve, but remains P9.
Patel gone purple in sector 2, and with his PB in sector 1, I think we might be on for an improvement here from Patel. I think he's going to jump. He could potentially jump Jerome if we could ride on board with Mohammed Patel as he goes through the final complex. Big commitment there as he gets back on the throttle, sliding a bit as he exits onto the straight, but a beautiful clean exit. And yes, he does indeed. He jumps Jerome Quakel for a front row slot, 16 thousandths of a second behind pole sitter Francesco Bugazzi. So superb effort on his last flying lap there to Mohammed Patel.
We just had George Manasakis move up to P10 on these very last lap, move up to P10. And Daniel Kiss just improved up to P4 with a 21.0. So, but as I was saying, Manasakis stealing P10 on the very last second, and for the third time this season, bear in mind we've only had 3 qualifying sessions, Dejan Kostanidov will be starting P11.
Well, at least, Dejan, you've got free choice on tyres when the race starts. So, of course, Quali 1, the job is not necessarily to get on the front row. It's the job is to get into Quali 2, and we're about to start Quali 2 now. As all the drivers head out to the end of pit lane to start their Quali laps.
Looks like Simicic and Patel are the first 2 cars out. We also got a couple of fill-ins. I'm not sure if you covered it yet, David, but we got not Martin Hoda, sorry, Victor Ivanov and Michi Hoyer filling in from Ace and Pro, not respectively. Victor's in from Pro, and I'm pretty sure, and Michi's from Ace, as Nikodem Rosnetsky can't make it, and I'm not sure who.
I can't see Mishi's name there. Is he on the server?
Yeah, no, they're not. Dan Buer, who's driving for Scuderia Brasilia, is also racing. They are both not on the server, but they are both racing.
Okay.
A bit later on. Actually, just got a little bit of intel. Dan Brewer is whenever he joins the FSR server, it crashes RF2 as Michi Hoyer just re-entered the server. So we're looking at Yuri Simicic then, who looks like he's going to be the first one to start a flying lap.
And it's Journey, by the way. Journey Simicic.
Yeah, Journey. I need to work on my European names. So here we go then, Simicic coming through the final corner and onto the start finish straight now, opens the DRS and has a very long run down into turn 1. not the longest run in Formula 1, but one of the closest runs to the season. Into turn 1 now, a very good line through there, and turn 2. Very hard little complexes, particularly turn 3, really hard on the left front tyres.
And he's
Simicic
overcooked
goes
it.
round.
It's a real challenge there because you've just got to get it onto the limit where the rear starts to slide, but overstep that mark as Journey just did, and it can all go pear-shaped very, very quickly. So he's back out again to attempt another hot lap. Kiss seems to be... Kiss has gone the quickest in Sector 1 by the look of it. I don't know if we want to ride on board for the rest of Daniel Kiss's lap, but he's purple for Sector 1 with a 22.691. Aggressive there through... It's a very tricky left-right up the hill there through 6-7. The car can get really unsettled. And then the drivers are going to be so aggressive through turn 9 and start the turn in before they can see the apex and just judge that. Very much an aero-dominated corner. This is the lovely thing about Catalonia. You know, the section Daniel's in now is very much a mechanical grip-dominated sector. Tight, turny, sort of Monaco-type corners. But then there are other parts of the track where it definitely becomes very much an aero-dominated track.
So Patel sets out first time with a 1 minute 20.933. Kiss does not beat that despite being purple in the first 2 sectors.
And Bugatti is sandwiched between the two.
And Brzezinski was 4/10 off. So, and now we're starting to get the first laps in. Alessandro goes 4th with the 21.1. Paris is 5th with the 21.263. Just waiting for Quakel now. He's coming across the line and he's going to do a 21.195 to go 5th. We've also got Menasakis. I've got to improve my European names.
Yeah, that's
Menasakis now.
Menasakis.
Coming through the last corner now, and he's going to go P6 with a 21.259. So far we've got 8 drivers, I should say, having completed a lap. And everyone so far is separated by just under 4.5 tenths. Got Eris Mashuli coming to the end of his first flying lap now. We've also got Simicic on the lap. So Mashuli coming through the final part, very loose there. And this Aventa car doesn't look very stable through the mechanical part. In the mechanical base corners as he comes through the final corner now, and he's going to come across the line, set his first lap time in Q2 I should say, and it's not great with a 1 minute 21.49. And we've got Simicic about to finish his lap now, and he will go P4 with a 21.028, a very good time from Yoni Simicic there.
Less than a tenth off pole there. So it's interesting that the first 5 of these 10 drivers are separated by 1600ths, and the next 5 are separated by about 2600ths. So very tight up the front.
So we got the second round of laps coming in through now. Patel hasn't done a great first sector, but Daniel Kiss certainly has gone purple with the 22.596 as he comes through turn 9 now. Got Bugatti, Alessandro and Brzezinski all on personal best. Patel has gone purple through sector 2 though. Patel's going to be the first one to finish a lap out of this run. So it's sort of interesting to see how these runs come through. It sort of poses a little bit of a boring point through qualifying, but the rest of it's very exciting.
Very aggressive through turn 9. It was amazing. He used every inch of the track, but he's just got a bit scrappy out of the final complex there, and aborted his lap before committing to the pit straight. So, and that's the thing with these guys. They're pushing. The margins are so fine. Daniel Kiss is 400ths of a second behind the next driver.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
did we just have a change of pole?
Yes, we did. Bugatti just went to pole with a 20.859. D'Alessandro just went 4th with a 20.978. Who's that? That'll be Quakel, or will it be Paris coming across the line? I'm not sure. Or Marvin Brzezinski actually. Crackle just moved up to 5th with a 21.081, whereas Paris has just finished his lap with no improvement so far. So we've got Menesakis on a lap now. Both Mag 8 cars inside the top 10, which didn't happen at Bahrain because Menesakis didn't make it. Oh, he got a lot of wheel spin coming out of the chicane there. As I was saying, Menesakis didn't make the top 10, and Jim Paris had that backer grid penalty from Melbourne. No backer grids for those two drivers today. Eris Mashuli now on a lap. Personal best through his first sector, and he can hopefully improve on that very scrappy 1 minute 21.49 as he comes to the end of sector 2 now and into this turn 10. It's not a personal best, but it's still an okay middle sector as he comes through turn 11 now, and turn 12, turn 13 I should say, and then through the chicane at 14 and 15, and then through turn 16, see what he can do, see if he can improve. He needs about 2 tenths to even gain a position on Jim Paris, and he does a 21.152 to go P8 at the moment.
Yeah, well, nothing shabby about that. It did look, I was on board with Masculi then, and it did look to me like he's getting a bit of throttle oversteer with that car. It really seems to be struggling to get the power down and having to make a lot of minute corrections mid-corner. And that's a real issue here because you've got these long radius corners to drive the car through. And of course, now that he's put, once the drivers have put a quali lap in, even in quali 1, there are no more changes. It's Parc Ferme. He's stuck with the setup that he's got. Even tyre pressures can't be adjusted. The only things he can do to tweak the setup is really front wing and brake balance and brake pressure. That's about it.
And the brake map, which for those of you who don't know, the brake map.
Oh, it's engine brake map 3, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Controls how much throttle lip there is on the downshift mainly, and just how much throttle is held on in general while the car's under braking to prevent the rear wheels from spinning. Back to qualifying.
Or from locking up.
Yes. Yes, locking up. Why did I say spinning? That's a complete opposite effect. We got Brzezinski going across the line now to finish his lap, and he will not improve. Simic has gone personal best through 2 sectors. Brzezinski is on a personal best. The Alessandro is, as is Paris. The Alessandro didn't improve there in the end. He's 1,000th off his. So he's very close to out qualifying Daniel, because Simic crosses the line, goes 5th with 20.987. Paris is now about to come across the line to finish his lap. Does improve to a 21.176 to go P9. His teammate Georg Menesakis now coming through turns 14 and 15 to finish off his lap. A lot nicer exit out of turn 15 there, as he comes out of turn 16 across the line now, and does improve but stays P10.
Well, it's very symmetrical. The top 5 are all on a 1 minute 20, and the next 5 are all on a 1 minute 21. So it's like there's an invisible line there that only the top 5 guys have managed to cross.
In saying that, all 10 drivers only separate by 0.365 of a second. It's insanely close in this qualifying session. Daniel Kiss now coming towards the end of the lap, but it's not a personal best at all. He's still going to finish the lap though, so we'll see what he can do, and he doesn't improve. So he stays P3.
Brzezinski and Menesakis both leaving the pits now too. Menesakis kind of moved aside to let Kuba out on track first. So they're both on an out lap now.
Just looking at the 2 OFR cars, Krakel's currently on a lap, and as you said, Brzezinski's just left the pits. But they're 6th and 7th at the moment, so they're not particularly high like we've seen them inside the top 5 in the first 2 races in terms of qualifying.
Well, certainly Jerome, yes. I think Kuba's been down around 5th and 7th a couple of in the earlier rounds in quali, but it's not like Jerome to not be at all, at least on the front row. But I've got a sneaking feeling that it's going to be down to aero, because one of the things that Jerome doesn't get sucked into doing is adding too much wing to his car to have a lovely qualifying at the expense of race pace. He's a very tactical guy, and he knows the theory that if he's going to attack and pass somebody, or if he's going to have to defend, it's going to be on a straight rather than mid-corner at this level. So you can bet your bottom dollar that he's prepared a car with a very good top speed.
Well, he's actually he did a purple sector in sector 3, and he did improve to 5th with a 20.978, the exact same time as Michele D'Alessandro. At the moment, we've got 3 cars separated by 2 thousandths of a second for 3rd down to 5th. But anyway, that's
you got to hand it to Bigazzi. I mean, this guy loves to qualify, doesn't he? He's just got such a turn of pace when it comes to qualifying. And any viewers that haven't seen the opening round yet in Melbourne, the race-long battle between Bigazzi, Patel and Brzezinski, and they were later joined by Michele D'Alessandro, it was worth the price of admission alone. Those guys were hammer and tong.
Whoa.
Wow. Goodness gracious.
That's a huge lap.
He's blown their doors off.
That is a huge lap. Huge lap from Francisco
to put that in
Bigazzi.
perspective, we got 9 guys within 0.3 of a second, and Francesco Bigazzi 0.3 of a second clear of number 2. That is really sensational driving, amazing qualifying effort. That reminds me of Canada last year, where he did a similarly dominant qualifying performance. That is an unbelievable lap, and I tell you what, hats off to Francesco Bigazzi for that performance. Just stunning. Francesco is new to the Twister team this year. He was driving for a different team last year, but got the call to join Twister. And as I said last week or the week before, that's a little bit like Toto Wolff ringing you up and saying, how would you like to come and drive for Mercedes-Benz? Because the history and the performance of the Twister racing team, and I'm just looking here, we've got 2 Twisters on the front row at the moment with Bigazzi and Kiss, showing it's no fluke.
Yeah, third Patel as well, which is technically Musto, but Musto is the sister team to Twister, so we're just waiting for someone to start a lap. Simicic is going to be the first cab off the rank. Kiss and Bigazzi are done, the 2 Twister cars are done. Bigazzi finishes up with 1 minute 20.61, Kiss with a 1 minute 20.832. So he did improve on his last lap to go P2. Simicic now through sector 1 does a personal best with a 22.173 as he struggles with traction coming out of turn 4 and into turn 5. Now there's a lot of rear slide there through turn 5. So now coming up through 7 and 8. It looks like a pretty clean, tidy lap. We just had Patel do a personal best through the first sector as well, so he'll be the next one to finish a lap. Well, Mohammed Patel, but we're watching Simicic for now. As he comes through sector 2, he's done a 30.43. So it's not a personal best, and he always got that majorly wrong. He just got turn 11 and 12 very wrong there.
Patel's had a pretty good sector 2. I've been on board with Patel the whole time, and although he had a bit of a slide at it, no, he's going to have to abandon that lap. He went sideways in turn 10 and spoiled what otherwise was looking like a pretty tidy lap, actually.
So can anyone get past turn 12? Michele now is done okay middle sector. It was a personal best through the first sector, same with Paresis pretty much. Saying that Paresis was the quicker of the 2 through the middle sector. So Craigle's not really on a fast lap either. So Michele now, very big slide coming out of turn 16. Comes across the line and doesn't improve. What about Paresis? He does improve to a 21.095, which puts him up to P7. Brzezinski, the only one left to finish a lap in Q2. So we'll see what he can do as he comes out of turn 15 through turn 16 now.
Big commitment out of the final corner.
Across the line, and he doesn't improve
either.
Doesn't
go any faster. And so that is the end of qualifying 2. So we have our top 10 sorted out. Francesco Bigazzi From Twister Racing in first, Daniel Kiss, Twister Racing in second, Mohammed Patel from Musto Racing in third, Michele D'Alessandro, NetRex GP in fourth, Jerome Quakel, Origin Front Row Racing in fifth, Joni Simogic in sixth, Jim Parizis, VB Mad Cape, seventh place, Kuba Brzezinski in eighth, and ninth place, Eros Masculi, George Manitsakis in 10th. The only thing I'd say, Daniel, it's a 66-lap race and a lot can happen.
Yeah, well, hopefully they don't half the field doesn't end, or not half, but like 4 cars don't end up out on lap 1, like what happened in the pro race a few hours ago. So
well, I guess we're at a whole different level here when it comes to World Championship versus pro. You know, these are the best drivers in the world, and it can get a bit scrappy sometimes in pro. I mean, it's a melting pot. We've got a lot every year on the grid. There's a lot of new guys. And the way the system works is that if you end up in the top 3 in the championship in pro or ace, it's compulsory that you move up to the next level for the following season. So we get new blood coming in at the bottom and the very top guys moving up, which makes it good, fun, competitive racing for everybody. But it does mean we've got a mix of awareness, let's say awareness in terms of on-track etiquette and wheel-to-wheel racing.
So as these guys complete their warm-up before the race, we're going to go and have a quick break here at FSR so we can give you all 66 laps of fast and furious action here live. We'll see you after this.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thought it just while the guys are going through the remaining 5 minutes of warm up, just might be nice, Daniel, to have a bit of a chat about the World Championship standings as they stand at the moment, because it's quite interesting who's in front and how they got there. So we've got Jim Paris's Greek driver is from VB Madcape. He's currently leading the World Championship. And he's had an interesting ride. Jim won the Melbourne Grand Prix. He was on pole on the front row after qualifying. Drove a fabulous race. Got past Jerome Quakel in turn 1. Jerome fought back and in fact reasserted himself in the lead by the end of sector 1. But Jerome had unfortunately some technical issues which caused him to drop out. And from there, Jim Paris's just made the Melbourne track his home and just drove away from the rest of the grid. He did, I think, from memory, 4 stints on the soft tyre and only 1 stint at the end on the medium, but a really dominant drive. But when it came to round 2 in Bahrain last week, Jim, in fact, fell foul of the stewards for a very, very minuscule exceeding track limits issue in the qualifying lap in Melbourne. So Jim had to start back of grid in Bahrain, and for me, Jim was the driver of the round. I know that Jerome won, but Jim drove from the absolute back of the grid, which I think was P22, and drove into 4th place, having executed a stunning strategy. Him and George Manasakis 2-stopped in Bahrain. No one thought it was possible, and ran 2 prime stints, held track position, and only 3 guys managed to get past him. So he converted a back of grid situation to 4th, which then saw him leading the World Championship. Now, Francesco Bigazzi, our pole sitter today, is lying 2nd. After all the penalties washed out in Melbourne, Francesco was P2 and P5 in Bahrain. So he's been super consistent. Mohammed Patel is lying 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Mohammed, or Mo as his mates call him, was 2nd on the track, but 4th after all any penalties had been applied in Melbourne, 3rd in Bahrain. So the British drivers had a 4th and a 3rd, very consistent, for 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, which then takes us to Jerome Quakel. And Jerome won last time out in Bahrain, but technical issues caused the do not finish in Melbourne. So Jerome is a race-winning driver, but currently lying 4th in the championship. Bahrain was just amazing, the way he and his engineer worked together to put him ahead of the 6 cars that were in front of him on lap 30. Very exciting broadcast. If you haven't had the chance yet to watch the race broadcast from Bahrain from World Championship, I highly recommend you grab a beer or grab a glass of wine or whatever your favourite tipple is, and sit down and enjoy that one evening. Journey Simičić, a Slovenian driver and a bit of a setup guru, lying 5th in the championship. He got onto the podium in Melbourne, came 5th in Bahrain. Both times he started from outside the top 10, so you'd have to say that Journey is racing a little bit better than he's qualifying at this present moment, but a hell of a driver on full fuel and always seems to manage to move himself forward in the race. Then a driver who needs little introduction after him is Kuba Brzezinski. Kuba's a Polish guy and a superb driver. Kuba debuted last season driving in the Pro Championship and was pretty much unbeatable from the moment he arrived. So he was signed for World Championship and has managed his first race win in World Championship at the Monza round last year. And very good wheel-to-wheel racer, a lot of awareness, doesn't make many mistakes, and one of the guys to watch in the title hunt. Daniel Kiss, as you can see there, is lying P7, which doesn't really do him justice because Daniel is a super quick guy, and but he's just not managed to complete the races without any issues so far. He's had some issues with contact. And then we've got Eros Masculi, Mike Partington and David Greco rounding out the top 10. So We've got some top drivers. We've got quite a different circuit this week for you. Catalunya is different. You can't sort of rely on putting on some primes for a sneaky first stint, because the prime offset, which is what they call the penalty that you pay lap time wise for selecting primes, is about 3/4 of a second. So if you run a 20 lap stint on primes, which is probably about average what the guys will attempt to do, you're really looking down the barrel at being 15 seconds behind the other guys, and with a long DRS zone down the pit straight, you're pretty vulnerable if you're on the prime tyre. So you'd be doing very, very well to bring yourself into contention with the prime opening stint. Daniel, what do you think we'll see tyre strategy-wise today?
Bit of a mix, I think. We'll see a few guys trying to two-stop, 2 hard stints and an option. Sort of similar to what we saw Parisas and Manasakis do in Bahrain. But the other real option here is a 3-stop with 3 option stints and a prime stint. And we might see, depending on tyre wear, we might see some people having to do 2 prime stints to get to the end. So it will be interesting. It's worth mentioning that David Greco does have a backer grid for this race after his he had a bit of contact with Kuba Brzezinski.
Yeah, they had a light contact into turn 1, but it did terrible damage to Kuba's rear suspension, didn't it?
Yeah, so as a result, David will be starting this race from the back. And we're about 35 seconds from the drivers setting off on their formation lap.
I'll tell you what I think about strategy here, Daniel, is I think it's vital to be on primes for the final stint. And the reason I say that is that you can grab primes 20, 21, 22 laps out, and they are super consistent for 20 or more laps. And it means that if you're in good shape there after the final stops, you can pass the guys that are pitting for options with 15 laps to go. They're going to come after you and attack you on fresh options, but unless they can nail it within 10 laps, the balance shifts the other way, and the guy on the prime tyre starts to have better performance, and it gets easier and easier to defend.
Yeah, so as the drivers pull away from the grid and start their formation lap, we'll go through the grid here. On pole position we have Francisco Bagazzi for Twister, his teammate Daniel Kiss starting in second, Mohammed Patel third, Kaylee D'Alessandro fourth, Jerome Krakel starting in fifth, Yuri Simicic starting in 6th, Jim Parisas down in 7th, Kuba Brzezinski starting P8, Eris Mashuli, the first of the Aventa cars, in 9th, George Manasakis starting P10, Dejan Kostanidov starting 11th for the 3rd time this season, James Sadler 12th, Giorgiano Valeriano starting in 13th, Blair Disley starting in 14th, Victor Ivanov, who's subbing today, starting in 15th. Martin Hodas in 16th. John Eric Saxon starting in 17th. Marek Godak starting down in 18th. David Junt in 19th. Richie Hoyo subbing in for Nikodem Rosninski starting down in 20th. And as I mentioned earlier, the backer grid penalty for David Greco means he's starting down in 21st position. And on prime tyres, may I add.
Our first prime runner is Dejan Kostadinov. The top 10 are all on options. So Dejan's the first guy on prime. So I'm going to be very interested to see if he can hold off Sadler behind him, who's on the options. The option guy, I think the guys on options are going to be looking at stopping with probably no more than 14, 15 laps, unless they're going to try and do something clever on strategy.
We've actually got quite a few guys outside the top 10. We've only got 4 runners outside the top 10 starting on the options as the drivers start to line up on the grid now. We've got Bagazzi and that Twister front row That just looks awesome, and the rest of the field starts to form up behind them, waiting for David Greco, who will be the last one to form up. Just waiting for that. He is in position now. So we wait for the lights. As the lights start to come on, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we're away here at Spain. Daniel Kiss getting a flyer of a start as alongside his teammate going down into turn 1. Very long run. Here comes Patel. They're 3 wide going into turn 1. Who's going to break the lace? It's Daniel Kiss that's going to take the lead, but can he hold it? Yes, he can. Bagazzi coming back around the outside him, and he's now on the inside for turn 3. The Twister cars have been side by side the whole race so far, which is rather interesting. Kiss looks like he's starting to edge out over Bagazzi coming into turn 4, but Bagazzi's got the inside line, and he's going to try and hold his teammate on the inside, but I think Kiss is going to have the run out of the corner, and he's going to have the line into turn 5. So
that was a beautiful bit of driving from both those guys for that whole sector.
So coming out through turn 6 and through turn 7 now, it's Kiss, Bagazzi, Patel, Quakel, the Alessandro, Simicic, Brzezinski, Parisis, Manasakis, Mashuli, Costanito, Sadler, Valeriano, Disley and Godek. We've got David Greco already up to 17th, and it looks like we might. Michi Hoy is already out of the race.
We've had a retirement there. Looks like suspension damage. Must have had suffered some contact at the beginning.
Hodas is struggling as well, as is Ivanov. So that's 2 Aventa cars already. So Kiss now starting to pull a little bit of a gap over Bagazzi, who's got Patel, Quakel, Simicic, D'Alessandro's dropped to 6 now, so Simicic has gained another position off the start, and he's already up to 5th. And that's Brzezinski in behind D'Alessandro. The 5th through to 7th are very close, as here comes Brzezinski for a look on D'Alessandro down into turn 1, and he hasn't made that move stick. So now that brings Jim Parisis into this battle just a little bit, as they come through and finish the first sector for the second time.
So 1 lap down out of 66 laps.
So looks like Hoyer and Hodas is in the pit lane now, and he's just exiting. So those two must have had a little bit of a come in together early on. So Hoyer's out, Hodas is well down, and his whole race will be compromised now. So Kiss is starting to run away with this. We saw how he didn't quite have. He had good quali pace, obviously, with pole position in Bahrain, but he's starting to run away. He's already got a 1 second lead, which is important. He's already got Bagazzi outside of DRS range. D'Alessandro catching up to Simicic a little bit. The top good 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cars all in a train in behind Francisco Bagazzi right now as they come on to finish lap 2. Bagazzi's going to be the first one and does a 25.9 first flying lap, which is very quick indeed. Here comes D'Alessandro though, as Simicic defends into turn 1. D'Alessandro not close enough to make the move stick.
So Kiss is not only pulling a reasonable gap, and he's only just shy of getting outside the DRS tow, but he's also got a teammate as his rear gunner, and a very quick teammate as well. So Bagazzi's going to, consciously or subconsciously, is really going to be doing a lot of work here to help Kiss by basically staying in front of the chasing pack. But Bagazzi himself has pulled a 1 second gap on Mohammed Patel already, with just 2 laps of 66 laps completed. Quakel 2.5 seconds back.
So it all updates again now. So Kiss to Bagazzi is just over a second. Bagazzi to Patel is just under a second. Patel to Quakel is 4/10 of a second. 7/10 of a second, sorry. Quakel to Simicic is 6/10 of a second. So we're starting to get a train forming behind Patel as those 2 Twister cars up ahead start to pull away. We'll see if Quakel can do anything, but he doesn't look like he's going to be close enough. There's no DRS. Will now activate, so they'll have DRS as Quakel very close to Patel going into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, he didn't seem to have DRS that time down the pit straight, so it must activate at the end of this lap, Daniel.
Yeah. It's a bit weird with Barcelona. It tends to activate after lap 3 rather than lap 2. Simply because of the positioning of the DRS zone on the main straight. It's really weird. Don't know why. Got a bit distracted there. But looks like Bugatti and Kiss have just driven away from the rest of the field. Already got Kiss has a 2.5 second lead. Bugatti 1.3 second gap over Patel. He's holding Crakel up a bit. He's now got DRS, so DRS now activated, but he won't be close enough coming into turn 10.
Well, it's going to be very interesting that Patel and Quakel, this is going to tell us a bit of a story. This first run down the pit straight, I can hear some contact somewhere. We're going to know at the end of this next straight whether or not Quakel has any top speed advantage over Patel, and I do suspect it. Hodas out.
Hodas is out, and David Junt's crash on the exit of turn 9.
So Quakel has a run now on Patel. DRS is open, and he's really got a massive closing speed. Mo being very clever with his defence there, positioned his car in the middle of the road, which leaves the attacking driver with a bit of a decision to make. Not much room on the outside, so there's no comfortable line there. And of course, Patel is required only required to leave space once the other car has some overlap, so he can drive whatever line he wants. He's not allowed to swerve from side to side. If he moves, he can move once. If he moves to the inside, he's got to stay to the inside. If he moves to the outside, he's got to stay to the outside. So sometimes the defensive strategy of just staying in the middle of the track can work quite well, because the other guy, the other driver, the attacking driver, he's got to make a big commitment to either attack you down the inside or attack you down the outside. He's got a moment of choice. It's not simple. Whereas if you move to one side, it's very, very clear and easy, and the other driver knows what he's got to try and do. So I'm just on board with Quakel at the moment, and if anything, he's closer to Patel than he was coming around the previous lap. And I think we might have a change for P3 this time round, because Quakel had the top speed. I don't know that Mo Patel will have DRS on Bugatti. In fact, I'm sure he won't. So Quakel should get the opportunity now to open DRS and attack Mohamed Patel once again as they head down the straight here for the 6th time at Catalunya.
Yeah, he's not quite close enough. See if DL Sandro. I thought DL Sandro might have been close enough to Simic, but wasn't the case. DRS is sort of working interestingly here as Mashuli sort of broken off the back of the train, creating his own one. But sort of been a bit interesting because the DRS is getting people close, but it hasn't really produced any overtakes yet, which I think is key. David Junt is out as well, so we're already down to 18 cars in this race, as Dan Brewer, in the second of the Scuderia Brasilia cars, did not start with software issues, as Bugatti now starting to get a bit closer to his teammate up the front.
Well, he's certainly holding him, isn't he? Holding him very constant, currently about 1 second.
Well, Kiss has already responded with a purple sector 2, so the gap's already back out to a second now. It seems to be ebbing and flowing between these two Twister cars. So I wonder if Bugatti's got just a little bit less swing than his teammate, just for a little bit more straight line speed. What's Quakel doing? What's Patel doing? Quakel's closer to Patel this time. Saying that Patel's got very good drive out turn 15 and through turn 16, which is going to make it hard for Quakel at the other end of the straight.
He's a bit closer this time. He may take a dive, but
yeah, he's going to go around the outside. Yeah,
he got
very good
side by side, but he's very good. He's a clever racer. He knows it's a 66 lap race, and in fact, while he's getting the DRS tow from Patel, that's probably in a way helping him defend from Simic. Oh, he's probably not in too stressed about passing him just at the moment.
It was very good driving there from both drivers. Patel just leaving Crakel enough room on the outside to the entrance of the corner, and then Crakel just leaving Patel enough room on the inside of the corner as they went through the apex of turn 1. Patel holding 3rd position for the moment. We've got DL Sandro getting a bit closer to Simičić as well. These top third through the 64 cars seem to be bunching up a little bit. They've got about a second over Brzezinski in 7th. That's the Alessandro to Brzezinski. And then Parisas, Menesakis are still there as well. So is Mashuli in a way.
Yeah, it must be said that really the top 14 cars really are still, or 15, 16. Well, the entire grid really is still very close contact with each other.
Here comes Krakel again. Krakel more aggressive around the outside Patel, but won't be able to make it stick. Patel not really leaving him any room on the outside, on the inside I should say, for turn 2. So both drivers starting to got a little more aggressive that lap around. Krakel went very deep, and that was very interesting. I think Alessandro might have had a look at Simičić as well, but couldn't make it stick either. As I said, these guys have had this whole train starting to pack back up a bit, all the way back to Menesakis in 9th now. Back up the front just quickly, the gap between Kiss and Bagazzi still holding at about 1.1 seconds. Bagazzi just staying out of sight of DRS range, and I'm sure that's more to save his tyres than anything else over his teammate playing the long game. As now this massive battle for third comes through turns 11 and 12.
Yeah, well, it's a very important point you make there, Daniel, because when you get under somebody else's rear wing, you really start to get a lot of front tyre temp issues, because the dirty air that comes off the lead car, because it's obviously moving through a beautifully stable chunk of air, and the downforce is disturbing the air. So it's what the drivers call dirty air. They don't get the same amount of downforce. So with the extra steered angle, there's more friction, there's more heat, there's more tyre wear. And this track is definitely front limited anyway, so it's a double-edged sword. If you stay within DRS zone, you get some lovely help along the straights, but you really get a lot of hurt when it comes through the corners. And in fact, you wouldn't want to be any closer than Bagazzi is to Patel at this moment. Which brings me to the other thing about tyres. The guys have got 8 laps under their belt now, and I think with the medium tyre, with this option tyre, it is just absolutely lovely for the first 6, 7, 8 laps. And between now and the pit stop window opening, we're going to start to see who's driving within themselves and looking after their tyres, and who is really on the ragged edge, because all of these drivers have got their own custom setup on this car. They won't necessarily, well, they definitely won't have the same levels of tyre wear, the same levels of tyre temp. So it's who's managing the total package best is going to start looking good around about the pit stop window.
Well, I was going to say the two Mag Cape cars of Parisas and Menesakis at the back of this train, they're sort of thereabouts about, they're sort of pacing themselves. So I wonder if they're just saving their front tyres a bit as Krakel and Patel come down the front straight once again. Patel's a lot closer. Simičić has made a mistake, and he's got to make himself vulnerable to the Alessandro at the end of the straight. See if Krakel can get it done. There's a little bit of contact. Mo will...
And Kuba's just attacked Simičić. We've had Kuba pass Simičić into turn 1, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
So we've had the Alessandro, Simičić fighting back there around the outside turn 3. What a move from Simičić to take back 6.
But Kuba will have the inside line into turn 4. This is incredible racing, and Michele D'Alessandro there is a bit like a cork in a champagne bottle with all of this fizz going on behind him.
Well, that was interesting because D'Alessandro got past Simičić in the front straight. So that was an awesome move around the outside by Simičić through turn 3 to keep 6th place from Kuba Brzezinski. And these two Mag Cape cars, if they're just sitting there saving their tyres a bit, will be rubbing their hands together with absolute glee.
And of course, the clever thing that Journey Simičić did then, by attacking around the outside, you've got clean air. If he stayed behind Kuba, he'd have been a second back in the blink of an eye.
As D'Alessandro's Simičić really rides through turn 12 there. D'Alessandro is sort of broken away from this train, and Simičić, now Mashuli, Sadler and Costadino are sort of in this train. Costadino at the highest of the
Simičić is going into the pits with 10 laps done. That is a very, very early pit stop, and that says to me that he's on possibly a 4-stop. Menesakis pitting, Sadler pitting, Disley pitting. these are very early pit stops, and you know, I think these guys are going to be out of contention because if you need to be able to complete more than 10 laps on this tyre to be competitive here. You're going to see the top guys putting away 15 laps between pit stops. So very interesting. Earlier than I thought, I've got to say.
Yeah, I agree. Considering like Bugatti on same age tyres has just done the fastest lap of the race. In saying that, he's been in cleaner, but also he's closing the gap a little bit to his teammate at the front. It's down to 0.7 of a second now as they come up through turn 12. What's happening in this battle for third? Patel still ahead of Quakel. We still got D'Alessandro with Brzezinski, Parisas, and Rashuli in behind him. So
I think
the
Quakel's possibly counting the number of rivets on Mo Patel's rear wing to keep himself occupied at the moment. He's spending so much time looking at his rear wing. But he's got DRS attack again.
He's not going to be close enough at the end of the straight.
Actually, in fact,
Mo will just put it in the middle. Parisas in. Okay, this is interesting. Parisas and Costadinov are in. Costadinov's in, and he was the first of the prime runners. So interesting. Obviously, the option seems to be the better race tyre because Costadinov only did 11 laps on those set of primes.
Well, you've got to ask yourself, I mean, you know, no disrespect because he's a much quicker driver than me, but you've got to ask yourself, why would you bother to start on primes and then pit when the option runners pit? Surely the advantage would be to look after the tyres a bit and put the hammer down when the guy in front of you pits. But, who am I to say?
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. We'll see what comes out. What didn't work for Parisas, though, was the fact his teammate came in first because Menesakis has jumped his teammate in the pit stops, as Bugatti getting ever closer to his teammate at the front. So what's happening? We've had Brzezinski manage to get past D'Alessandro for 5th.
Yeah, we somehow missed that one. Apologies.
We missed that one because we were focusing on pit stops. So those twisted cars staying out again.
Now,
what about Patel? He'll stay out. Craig stays out.
This is the bit where for me it just gets delicious because it's all down to tyres, down to setup, down to who's looking after their tyres. As we see, Michele D'Alessandro has pitted as well, having been passed by Brzezinski. And I guess one of the reasons Michele was passed was perhaps he was having problems with his tyres. These top 7 or 8 guys have not pitted as yet and still cranking out good laps.
Well, D'Alessandro lost out big time there because he's going to come out behind James Sadler. He was ahead of the likes of Menesakis and Parisas beforehand, and he's now down in behind James Sadler.
Whereas if we look at Valeriano, Godek and Greco, they're the 3 guys that started on primes, and they're doing what you might call, I suppose, the classical prime strategies. They're staying out, they're running longer, they've got themselves track position now, and in a miniature version of what Parisas and Menesakis did back in Bahrain, they just stayed out, and when the option runners pitted, they ended up out on the track in front of them. Now, of course, the option runners have got to run the primes themselves as well. But in testing, it looked to me, the testing data looked to me like the prime, you paid less of a penalty on low fuel, and we're talking sort of half a second versus 3/4 of a second.
And as Patel pits for the first time from third, track position is critical here as well. Yes, you got the big long straight, but it's the only real overtaking spot. In reality, as Patel looks up into his box and puts on the prime tyre, which is interesting because he's the only one that's done that.
Yeah, that's interesting strategic call because if he can run to 13 laps on the option, he's not having problems with them. And to run the prime at this stage of the race, I really can't see much point. I mean, I'm a strong believer that we've had contact between D'Alessandro and Sadler, a little bit of wheel banging, no damage done, but they're both in turn 3 together there. They had a little bit of argy-bargy into the turn 1-2 combination, and they are still battling now as they approach turn 4. Another side-by-side contact. This is really getting a little bit hot and hectic now between these 2 guys. Sadler will
Well,
have the
now-
advantage into turn
Ooh.
5, and they bang again for the third time. So,
So,
James Sadler might
yeah.
be wearing a pink helmet, but there's nothing ladylike about his driving at the moment. You've got to say that.
Well, the fourth
And
time they've
D'Alessandro
touched
through.
us. And he's about to
Oh, and
lose.
then
Oh,
fourth
that's...
contact. And that was almost a bit of a don't argue as he was about to enter turn 9. Used almost like a championship wrestler coming off the ropes. He used Sadler to get a bit of advantage into the corner. So that was certainly a very, very physical confrontation between D'Alessandro and Sadler.
So now we've got Kiss in for primes, Quakel in for primes as well. So obviously everyone's responding to Patel going on to primes. Kiss is going to come out quite clearly as the net leader. Where's Quakel going to come out? Simic is going to pass him. He's going to come out right with Patel and Menesakis, who are going to go side by side into turn 1. Menesakis on the... Oh, no, Patel not really leaving him a lot of room, but Menesakis with the group just drives around the outside at turn 2. Awesome move by George there. And now Patel's going to have the other Mad Cake Courage and Priest. It's all over the back of him coming into turn 4 now. Patel will defending early. And but holds 11th for now. What I was going to say before those two started battling was Simicic is now is the second driver running that has completed his first pit stop. So he's jumped Quakel, he's jumped Patel, he's jumped D'Alessandro, he's jumped he's jumped a few guys. And he's jumped to the head of this train and behind the twister cars. We'll see if Bagazzi's in, Brzezinski's in, but Mashuli stays out, and then we've got our 3 prime runners that will stay out, obviously. So Bagazzi goes to primes, as it does Brzezinski. So now, where are these guys going to feed out? Where's Kiss? Kiss is going to pass his teammate. Yes, so Kiss is going to resume the lead of the race. Where's Brzezinski going to come out? He's going to come out behind just ahead of George Menesakis. As in the background, Paresis goes past Mohammed Patel for P11. And it wouldn't surprise me if Menesakis has a go at Brzezinski straight away into turn 4 here. Oh, he's not quite close enough actually, but he does have the option tyre on.
He's got the option.
So,
Kuba's on fresh primes, and the primes take a good couple of laps to come in. They really need a bit of temp into them, and on the out lap and the following lap, you've really got to watch your step a little bit, because it's very easy to lose the rear end on throttle. But Kuba knows that. He's a very skilled driver, and Kuba is probably one of the hardest guys to pass in Formula Sim Racing World Championship. So if Menesakis wants to attack, he's going to have to pull off a pretty classy move to get around the young Polish driver.
Mashili's staying out for another lap, which I find interesting. Wouldn't surprise me if he tries the 2-stop here. But hasn't the pit stop sort of shaken everything out? Because obviously the 2 twister cars are still out in front. The gap between them about 1.8. But now we've got Simicic 3rd, Quakel 4th, Brzezinski 5th. Net, this is.
Well, I
Menesakis
think
6th.
third,
Well, 10th, currently 10th.
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 4th will all be pitting within the next 3-4 laps to come off the primes, I would suggest, which will shuffle them all up a bit.
What I'm getting to here is Mohammed Patel and Michele D'Alessandro have lost out big time here, because they're down in 12th and 14th at the moment. They were up in 3rd and 5th at the opening stages of this race, and they've got Kostadinov in between them. Kostadinov's on the option, as is D'Alessandro. Patel's on the prime. Kostadinov's already run the prime, so he can go options to the end of the race if he really wanted to as well. So pit stops really have shaken up the field here.
No, they have indeed. Good call. So Masculi is still on his original options.
Yeah.
16 laps into the
finally
event.
Pits. Now.
That's a pretty impressive drive.
Well, so he's going to finish actually 17 laps once he crosses the line. So that leaves 50 laps to go. Can he do that on 2 sets of primes, I wonder? going to be interesting
yes,
watching.
he probably could. He probably
Yes.
could. But he's going to come out in about 13th or 14th place and on the slower tyre.
Yeah, but... Oh, actually, he's going to come out right behind this train, behind Patel. Will he be able to get ahead of Sadler? No, Sadler's going to get him through turn 2. Actually, no, this isn't done yet because they're still side by side through turn 3. Sadler's going to have more grip, but surely he's on cold tyres. Will he be able to make it stick on the inside? No, Sadler looks like he's going to make it stick on the outside to take P14.
Well, fantastic sequence of racing. Those guys engaged into battle before turn 1 and they fought all the way basically to the exit of turn 3. So lovely bit of side-by-side action.
He's got Blair Disley behind him as well, who's also on the options. So he'll, Blair will want to get past as soon as he can. So we've still got these 3 prime runners who now have Daniel Kiss up behind them. So we've got Valeriano currently leading from Godek and Greco.
And Valeriano is still doing good lap times. He's still in the low 125s on these primes.
The last lap he did a personal best.
Yeah,
last lap he did a personal best.
He is doing an absolutely fabulous job on these primes.
Greco on Godek, that's a tongue twister and a half. They come down into turn 1, Greco on the inside.
We've had some contact. Godek has suffered as a result of that contact. Greco not giving him really a lot of room there on the exit of turn 1.
No,
hopefully his car's not damaged.
I don't think they will. See if there is any on the Go Speed car. Looks like there might be a little bit, maybe, on Godek's car. Greco's doesn't have any damage. It's so hard to tell on this part of the track with all the turns. As now Godek's got Bugatti passing him. Oh, and gets a bit sideways coming out of turn 8 there through turn 9.
So Kiss and Bugatti still really holding station, about a second separating them. And when Valeriano and Greco pit, as they surely will in the next 2-3 laps, they will resume the lead. Now, this is the interesting thing. You know, these guys started on the primes, but the guys that have pitted are now on their gearbox, and effectively they're on the same tyre strategy now.
Well, yeah. Essentially, everyone's got the same number of pit stops left, except for maybe Mashuli, who might only be making the one to the end. So just because Mashuli's 15th, 16 seconds off the lead, doesn't mean he's going to finish 15th and more than 15 seconds off the lead as Kiss goes through.
Well, no, that's
makes
a good
an easy
call,
move.
If he can hold that gap to the leaders, which I think will be a bit of a challenge with some of them running options. That's 16 seconds is less than a pit stop. So here we are with best part of 20 laps down, and we have the top 16 cars covering 16 seconds of racetrack. So we're certainly getting some very, very close racing. Temperatures stable at 16 degrees, and that of course plays a big part in the way the guys set the cars up. They've got a boost feature available in these cars, and they can deploy boost anytime they want, but a boost increases temperatures and increases wear significantly. So the drivers have got to manage that, because you don't want to carry any larger radiator than you absolutely have to carry, because a bigger radiator is more drag and lower top speed. So you just want to set your cooling at the minimum level that you can possibly use to have the car make it to the end. Ideally, your car would blow up on the cool down lap. That would be the perfect setup. So the guys have got to bear in mind how much boost they're going to plan to use. But the temperature, ambient temperature, has a big impact, of course, on what radiator size they need, but also tyre cooling and brake cooling too. The tyres will go longer, because it's the air temperature, Sadler pitting by the way, the air temperature is actually cooling the tyres as the cars fly down the straights. The tyres cool down a lot quicker when the vehicle's moving as opposed to when it's sitting still.
So, Godek, I wonder if that was a team orders call to bring him in, so he didn't hold Simichich up at all. He rejoins in 16th, Sadler in as well. What tyres did he go on? He went onto the hards. He's going to rejoin in 18th as the last car running in behind John Eric Saxon. So Kiss all over the back of Valeriano now, and I'm assuming this is not going to be a very hard move for the soon-to-be race leader.
Well, Valeriano is still doing high 125s. Kiss is into the 124s now, so he's got definitely got pace advantage. Brand new options versus 21 lap old options. There should be no contest really.
Primes. They're on,
primes,
on the hard side.
I was thinking primes and I said options.
In saying that, sort of similar see if Valeriano, no. Does Greco, no. So both Twister cars are sort of in a, more so Bugatti, he's harder because Greco's going to have DRS, whereas Valeriano won't. So we should see Kiss take the lead here, we do. But we're not going to see Bugatti take P3, which is key, because now Kiss is in clear air and Bugatti is not. And he's got 2 cars ahead of him. He's got 2 cars now in between him and
Kiss in the
his
lead.
Teammate. Yeah, his teammate Kiss. And Crakel, I should say, we missed it. He must have got by going into turn 1, but Crakel's up to 5th now, ahead of Simicic.
Greco, by the way, yet to pit, still on the same set of prime tyres that he started the race on.
So is Valeriano. So I reckon Valeriano, Greco, Godek, and maybe Mashuli are all on 2 stops, which is key. As now Bugatti looks to the inside but can't make it stick. So we'll see.
Now Bugatti will know the state of Greco's tyres because he'll have an engineer on the pit wall, and this is one of the things that happens in World Championship level, is that these drivers generally, each driver will have one engineer. Sometimes a team will share an engineer between 2 drivers, and he'll be updating them as to when the guy, when they're pitting, what tyres they're taking, how old their tyres are. Valeriano seems to be moving left there.
Yeah,
to allow an easy pass by Greco.
So Greco up to second now, that's key because those guys are on the same strategy. And here comes Bugatti now, really outside of Valeriano for turn 3.
He should be able to get it done with more
grip. Yeah, and he gets it at Simicic in as well. Which tyres did he go on? He went onto the prime tyres, and he's going to come out behind his teammate Marek Godek, I should say. So Crakel that last lap, saying the fastest lap of the race. Now he's in behind Valeriano, poised to take 4th position. Bugatti poised to take 2nd from Greco anytime soon as well. Just depending, he doesn't look he's going to be close enough for a move into turn 10. What about Crakel? He might be. Not sure. He has a small look, but definitely not close enough.
Well, I've got to say,
Crakel very close to the back of Valeriano then.
Very close, and I'm incredibly impressed with what Valeriano and Greco have managed to do on these prime tyres. To do 22 laps and still be able to hold off Crakel on fresh rubber, very impressive.
Will be 23 now because they've stayed out for another lap. But Bugatti should be getting, So Bugatti's going past Greco. Crakel's already gone past Valeriano before the braking zone for the corner. So these two are slowly, they really do need the pit in reality because they're slowly falling down. But I think what they're trying to do is get to about lap 28 maybe, and rather than do 2 prime stints, do 2 option stints to go to the end of the race. We had Georg Menisakis come in as well. He's just come out behind Godek, who's just been passed by Simicic. So Menisakis might have dropped a bit of time there. I'm not 100% sure on that.
That's an interesting call there, Daniel. And you know what? I think I'd rather do a prime stint and an option stint than 2 options from lap 28, because you're going to have to do 18, 19 laps on the options, and that's just not fun. So, and these guys seem to be going so well on the prime.
It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible though. I mean, you get that initial bite from the options, which might be the turning point. Is now both OFR cars, both OFR cars. As Greco's in, finally Greco's in, and Valeriano stays out. And was that Parisis? Yes, Parisis is coming in as well. So Valeriano going another lap. So Greco's done 24 laps in these tyres. We'll see what he goes to. Kostadinov in as well.
Greco's going to exit somewhere around about where Simoncic is.
So Greco's on hards, Parisis on hards, Kostadinov on options. So see, Simoncic, Godek goes past. Greco's going to come out in 12th. Parisis is going to jump his teammate, and Kostadinov comes in behind the two Mad Cake cars. So,
well, you've got to say, Greco, 8 seconds. Oh no, sorry, timing hasn't settled out yet. I don't have a gap to the lead for Greco. 25 seconds. Okay. So, if we were to say he's going to drop a stop, and a stop is 19 seconds, that puts him in about a net 4th or 5th, based on that theory. So it's not working out too bad for him, really.
It is a bit like you do lose a bit more time here. It's about 21 seconds for a stop. So really, he's going to be. If Krakel was to pit now, he'd be racing Krakel, or just behind him. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Where's Valeriano? Valeriano finally pits. He's going to complete 25 laps on these set of tyres, but he finally pits. It's going to be interesting to see what he takes on. I'm assuming he's going to go another set of primes, because 2 sets of options won't get you to the end from here. So I'm assuming it's going to be another set of primes, and then a set of...
He's gone for options, but you know what? That's going to give him track position at the end, because he can pit a lot earlier.
And then undercut everyone.
So he'll have pace now in his middle stint to get himself in a good position, and then hopefully an undercut onto the primes for the final leg.
In saying that, yeah, he's got a little bit of clear out to Kostadinov, but in fact Kostadinov has this issue as well. Metasakis is on primes, Paris is on primes, Godek on primes, Gecko on primes, Simoncic on primes, and it's not easy to pass. So I think Valeriano might have been better going on another set of primes for this stint, and then going options to the end. But we'll see how it plays out. I think Simoncic is the highest of the drivers that have stopped so far, but expect that to change as the race progresses, because we've got so many different strategies right now that the pit stops are going to be a bit all over the place. D'Alessandro, who drops a lot of time, dropped a lot of places, I should say, in the first round of the pit stops. He's back up running P5 at the moment, and he just did a 25.2, so not as quick as the cars ahead on primes. So the 2 Twister cars and the 2 OFR cars, as Disley now pits from, he would have been running P8, but we're going to get a more realistic position for him now as he goes to primes. It's going to be behind Sadler. He's going to come out around Saxon and Ivanov, who are already battling. In fact, he's going to come out behind them. So he's going to come out in 18th, and the last car running.
I think D'Alessandro will pit very soon, because he did 12 laps on his first set of options. He's done 14 laps on his second set of options, and of course you can run that a little bit longer as the track evolves, and with more rubber and more grip you've got less temp, and the performance comes with less stress on the tyres, a little bit lower fuel load as well. So that's why he might have done 12 laps on the first set and 14 laps on the second set, but I can't see him doing much more than 14. He may well pit this time round.
Especially since he was in traffic a lot of that stint. By the way, Dion Kostadinov down in 13th place has just done the fastest lap of the race, and he's the first of our drivers into the 123s in the race. So what's happening? D'Alessandro actually stayed out for another lap, so he's getting a bit more life out of these second set of options. He may want to try and push it to only do the one stint on the primes, and then another set of options to the end. There's nothing really happening well.
Yeah, well, Quakel, just looking at Quakel and Brzezinski, the 2 Origin Front Row Racing teammates, have worked their way up into 3rd and 4th, which is not a bad place to be. The Kiss and Bugazzi have been untouchable out there in the lead, but Kuba, which is the second of the two teammates, is only 7 seconds back. They're all on primes, so certainly they're close enough to mount a challenge over the remaining 40 or so laps of this race.
Well, Craig has been matching those two Twister cars, but I tell you who's not in a good position is Mohammed Patel. He's made one stop, and he's currently the last of the cars that have only made one stop in this race, excluding the likes of Godek, Greco, and Valeriano. But he pitted early, and he lost. He ended up even worse than Michele D'Alessandro after those first round of pit stops. And he's 19 seconds off the lead as D'Alessandro pits. So we'll see what he could. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes to prime, and he does. And where's he going to feed out? Probably just be around James Sadler, I'm thinking. In fact, he'll be ahead of Sadler most likely. In a lot of clear air, which is key for D'Alessandro at this point in the race.
Yeah, Patel did 13 laps on his first set of options, so he wasn't the first guy to blink. And he went to primes. But just going in that little bit earlier while the pack was still so close together seemed to cost him dear.
Yeah, it sort of doesn't make sense why, because they would have been battling, unless it's just because he, in saying that, he didn't have DRS either because he was at the front of the train. So that's a weird one. We've got Godek starting to put a little bit of pressure on Parisas now. Well, Parisas might have just gone by actually, because I remember Godek was up with Simičić earlier on. He's got Menisakis, Kostadinov, and Valeriano. He's got the freshest hose of all of them. And on options, Kostadinov on options as well. And this massive battle for 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th is Kostadinov getting really close to the back of Menisakis now.
Well, in fact, that battle is really starts at 8th place and goes down to about 13th place. These guys are just in such an incredibly tight bunch. Each of them looking to gain advantage.
They're all going to have DRS because they're all within a second of the car in front, except for Greco, obviously. So, and this is what I mean. This is why I mean Kostadinov can run options to the end, but while it doesn't make sense, Valeriano didn't go to another set of primes because now he's going to be stuck at the back of this train. So that one's a bit confusing, if I'm honest, as to why he made that strategy call, but hey, his engineers know more than me.
Well, I suppose the thing is Valeriano jumped onto those tyres so late in the race that some of these guys are going to pit and leave him some clear air. So if he can put the hammer down for 4 or 5 laps, this little pack is so tight that an undercut of 3 or 4 laps in clear air on good tyres, he could well wash out at the front of this little pack. But he does need a chance to exercise those options. He needs a chance to really go for it, and he really needs some of the guys in front of him to pit. So if I look at, for example, Kostadinov.
Well, Godek and Godek pitted. Well, they both pitted. Greco was a lap earlier. I think Godek was 2 or 3 laps, or maybe even 4 laps before Valeriano. And they were on primes, and they've gone to primes again. So he's not going to get that much clear space.
Yeah, Kostadinov's tyres are only 5 laps old, so he's not going anywhere. He's going to be sitting there, hopefully.
Menisakis is on similar age tyres as well. He last pitted lap at the end of lap 23. So his tyres are a little bit older. They're about 7 laps old, but
yeah, 7 laps.
He's still there.
Okay, no, I think you've called it correctly there. Valeriano is just going to be using up his options without the ability to really do much with them.
Menisakis must be feeling the pressure. He just had a huge slide coming out of turn 5 there. And it looks like Parisas might have had a run at Greco earlier on in the lap, but he's dropped back a little bit as the lap has progressed. It's just the ebbs and flows of DRS and then having all the dirty air. But yeah, Konstantinov as well. I mean, I know Konstantinov can run options to the end, so it's not as bad a decision for him, but Valeriano, yeah, I don't know about that one. Anyway.
So in the meantime, Daniel Kiss is looking absolutely majestic, leading this race, 2 seconds to his teammate Francesco Bigazzi, and Daniel Kiss has just been metronomic with his performance today, just been mega consistent. I'm looking at his lap times, and he's just been reeling out mid 124s for the last 10 laps in a row. Very, very consistent, very, very fast drive. Quakel 3.8 seconds back from Kiss, and about 1.7 seconds back from Francesco Bigazzi. So those two guys are really putting in an amazing performance when you can have a driver of the calibre of Jerome Quakel just in clear air but unable to really make a dent on your performance. And in fact, Quakel has really pulled a significant gap now on Kuba Brzezinski in fourth. Kuba's about 8 seconds back from the lead, so around about 4 seconds back from Quakel. But he can take some small comfort in that the next car is 12 seconds back from him, so in Eros Masculi. So the top four guys have really, in cycling terms, they've done a bit of a breakaway. We've got four guys and a significant gap to fifth, and it must be said at the moment that it looks like Kiss, Bigazzi, Quakel are going to be fighting for the podium. Sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
I don't think Brzezinski's quite clear yet. Because Masculi, remember, had that really long stint on the options at the start, and as a result, he's actually cycled through the fifth now. Patel, I'm not sure what Patel's doing because he pitted really early, so I can't see him going to the end without 2 more stops. But Masculi, I can see going to the end on just 1 more stop for another set of primes. So, just keeping that one in the back of your head, considering he's only roughly 11.5 seconds behind Brzezinski, Masculi might even be able to steal a podium at this point.
Oh, good call. But certainly, there's a very intense fight, isn't there, for from P8 back to about P13. These guys are just line astern and just putting the laps in. And Catalunya is just such a beautiful rhythmic track. I don't know how you find it, Daniel, but I just love driving this track. There's something about it, the way it flows, the way the car works. It's just a very, very enjoyable track.
It is very nice. I do like it.
You've got that moment, you've got a few seconds break as you head down the pit straight and check all the numbers on your dash, look at your fuel margins, look at tyre wear, etc. Bit of boost, bit of DRS, and then it's rock and roll from turn 1 all the way back around again to the start of the pit straight. So fantastic track to drive on. But it's these guys, the bottom end of the top 10 really could go anywhere at the moment. But anyone from Michele D'Alessandro to David Greco really could be the person who comes home in 8th. It is just to use a very well-worn phrase, you could throw a blanket over these guys. They're so close together.
Yeah, this D'Alessandro might... Oh, they're all going to need 1 more stop, aren't they? D'Alessandro's got the freshest tyres of the lot, I'm pretty sure. He might, that's right, he might be going on options to the end. Depends what happens with him.
Now, let's just talk about the championship for a moment, because really this has just thrown all the cards up in the air, because Kiss was lying in 7th, having not really had a chance to deliver. This is him now making a very big statement that he's here to win races and potentially win the Formula SimRacing World Championship. Bigazzi, who's in P2 and really, really showing stunning pace. I mean, his qualifying was amazing. Bigazzi currently lies 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, and with this result, he will, if things stayed the way they were at the moment, Bigazzi would be passing Paresis in the title hunt, and Bigazzi would be leaving Spain in the lead of the World Driver Championship. So, looking at these names, we've got Parizis, Bugazzi, Patel, Quakel, Simoncic, Brzezinski, Kiss. All of these guys are going to be fighting it out over the remaining races of the season to take the title.
Well, see, I'm not even thinking championship yet. Not even this race, because Simoncic. Okay, so Simoncic has made 2 stops. He's made 2 option runs, and he's on his prime run now. He's 23.5 seconds off the lead. Again, like I was saying with Mashuli, Simoncic could still grab a podium in this race. It's ridiculous. The amount of strategies there are. There's about 10 guys that can finish 3rd at the moment. It's
amazing.
Yeah, it's nuts. And it's really hard to keep up with, and it's hurting my brain at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Simoncic, I've got to say, I beg to differ, because Simoncic pitted after lap 10, did 10 laps on options, then did 12 laps on options. He's now 12 laps into his prime stint. Now, unless he's suddenly found some tyre management, he's going to stop again in the next couple of laps. And with lap 38 laps down out of 66 laps, I think Simoncic is going to stop twice more. Easily twice more.
Depends. So his last pit stop was 24. So he'd need to get 21 laps out of 2 sets of primes, I should say.
And bear in mind
it's possible.
But bear in mind, he did his best option stint was 12 laps.
He set up.
His longest option stint was a 12-lap stint. I can't see him doing 12 on options and then doing 22 on primes.
Well, he needs to try and stretch these primes to about lap 45. Just had Ivanov in as well, by the way, for a fresh set of options. He's out and away back in 18th.
Simicic's pace is still looking good. So the question, it begs the question: why did he run such short stints in his opening stints on the options? That's the bit that I just don't quite get.
Yeah, this race is really.
He pitted from 5th place on lap 10 to go for options. And
his lap times are decent. He matched Daniel Kiss on that last lap. So he's got no shortage of pace at all. Even though Kiss last pitted on, he's only made 1 stop. Kiss pitted on lap 15. Saying that's a testament to Kiss, isn't it? Because his laps are about 10 laps older. Then as John Eric Saxon pits and puts on another set of primes. But yeah, that's a testament to really Daniel Kiss's pace, as he's just pulled it out now. It's up to 3 seconds to Bugazzi, 5 seconds to Quakel. But now Brzezinski is coming back to the picture at the front, because gap between 1st to 4th is 6.6 seconds.
Yeah,
and I remember it.
Kuba must have had an issue because he suddenly found a couple of seconds.
Bugazzi, okay, this is now Bugazzi's in. Bugazzi's the first one to blink. So will this be for a set of options, or will it be for a set of primes?
Kuba's just reeled out 3 PBs in a row.
That's nuts. But okay, so Bugazzi's gone for another set of primes, which he's not going to get these to the end.
He won't do 30 laps on them.
No, which is why did he go to the options?
He will pit again.
Why didn't he go to the options? Because he could have done
that's a good
15
question.
laps.
If he's going to stop again, why not grab options? Yeah, very good question.
This race is just because
I'll tell you one thing about these primes. The prime on low fuel is just lovely. It is so consistent. The options.
It's not faster.
It's not faster. It's in terms of peak pace, it's about half a second off on low fuel, but the option starts to degrade so quickly that after 10 laps, I think it's got the measure of the option after 10 laps. I think laps 10 to 15, I think the prime runner is quicker than the option runner.
Well, is Bugazzi, I should say.
He's attacking the ceiling.
Well, he just did a purple sector too, so you can see why I'm looking at Simoncic in the background as well, getting closer to Patel. What was key was the fact that Bugazzi got out ahead of Patel as Kiss is in as well.
Sorry to interrupt there.
So we'll see what he goes on to primes. So I wonder if they're just going to do a 10-lap dash at the end on options. Because surely they won't get these primes to the end.
Bugatti attacking Masculi. This is for position for P4, and Bugatti flies past Masculi to take P4, and has the move well and truly done by the time they get into turn 1. I think Bugatti just likes the primes.
Hang on, did Craig make a mistake? No, he just let his teammate past. So Berlinski's gone to the lead with the purple third sector. Simic has passed Patel, which is key for his race. It's all gone off. Now Bugatti's gone purple through sector 1 and behind his teammate. Obviously this is with DRS assistance for both Brzezinski and Bugatti. But what do the OFR cars do?
Good question.
Do they go to options? Do they respond and go to options as Brzezinski's now got superior pace to Quakel, because he's already pulled out a 1.5 second gap over his teammate.
Well, Kuba's tyres are 20 laps old now. My money, if I was Kuba, I would go to options and then primes for the final stint to get track position with an earlier final stop.
Nah, I'd do 2
Kuba
options.
is still flying. He's just set another personal best on lap 20 of his current stint.
Quakel's in. He's going to go to another primes. Is that something that we don't know? Is that something that can they do 27, 28 laps on a set of primes?
Yes.
Are you just saying that?
Yes, they can. I don't know if I should have divulged that on air.
I was going to say it's good.
But the prime is mega consistent, and these guys love them. I mean, Kuba's 20 laps into his current stint, and reeling off PBs lap after lap.
Well, ambient temperature is, as Costantino and D'Alessandro come out after their stops in 15th and 16th. The ambient temperature is down to 15 degrees now, so I wonder, with the lower temperatures, I should say, if they can go to the end on just one set of primes. And in that case, that throws the
Kuba's done 24 laps on his current set. So 20...
And he's doing another one. He's stayed out.
So 25 on the next set is easy peasy.
So that does not work if you're David Greco, Marin Godak, or Giorgiano Valeriano, who was planning on being the only 2 stoppers in the race. And same with Eris Masciuli, saying that Masciuli's up in 4th and running really well, saying that he's got Simic within DRS range now, or just out of DRS range as Patel pits from 9th.
So yeah, Mo Patel pitting from 9th, and that's not what this talented British driver wants to be doing. Patel is a superb driver. He pushed Briac last season incredibly close. These guys fought so hard for the championship. Very talented driver.
And now, boy, do these guys want to hurt my head today? Because Godak's now pitted early to go into options, and they're not getting to the end. And Costantino back in, he must have been caught speeding in pit lane and had to serve a drive-through. But Valeriano is actually making sense and put a set of primes onto the end.
So now Kiss needs to pit again.
Well, do they? Does he?
Well, I think he does.
We don't know.
I'm going to double check now.
Because he pitted 3 laps ago. 2 laps ago. Bugatti was 3. Kiss 2, Krakel pitted last lap, and now Brzezinski's in making his pit stop. And he's going to the primes, and I'm assuming the end of the race.
Well, Daniel Kiss did 24 laps on his first set of primes. He's done 2 laps on this set, and there's 25 to go. So in theory, he's got to do 27, and he did 24 last time around. So, yep, Kiss could bring it home from here. His tyres are going to be a little bit more on the edge when it comes to the end of his stint, of course.
Whereas, so Brzezinski, his options got to lap 15, and he's just pitted on lap 40.
Yeah, so he's
41.
3 laps.
41's.
He's got
41.
Yeah, he's got a 3-lap tyre life advantage, I guess, but he's got you know, a pretty big gap to manage. He's got 7 seconds gap to manage. Simicic, my money says Simicic is going to pit pretty soon because he just...
Yeah, Simicic and Masculi need to pit again. Greco needs to pit again and put the option on. Paresis has to pit again. Crakel can probably go to the end. Manasakis needs to pit again. Patel will be going to the end. Oh god, this is... everyone tune in at lap 65 when we actually know what everyone's strategy is.
And fortunately, we haven't had any more retirements since those. The last retirement we had was on lap 4. So here at lap 41, we've still got 18 guys with four wheels on their wagon. And Kuba Brzezinski has just made an easy pass on Journey Simicic into turn 1. Simicic making a bit of a sort of a fight back, but he just hasn't got the rubber to do it with.
Yeah, so Simicic in reality, Simicic needs a pit now, and so does Masculi as well, actually, for a set of primes, so they don't lose too much time unless they really want to go on options to the end. As Crakel has just taken 7th from David Greco as well. So it's slowly panning itself out as Bugatti now.
Now what about Jim I'm going to have a look at Jim Parise. Well, Jim Parise is 18 laps into his current prime tyre stint, so Jim needs to stop again. He doesn't have to stop in any great hurry though. He's probably got another 5 or 6 laps of good tyre life, but that will drop him well back out of where he is, of course. Is it more
now that they need to reply to the guys that have already stopped, or are they going to go on options to the end?
Well, there's no point grabbing options to do 23 laps. There's just no point.
Yeah, well, if they pit now, as Simicic is, it wouldn't surprise me if Simicic goes to another set of primes, considering he's done, 19 laps on those. So he's going to be close, but he'll put another set of primes on to try and get to the end. But if Parisa stays out for another 4 odd laps, he might go options to the end, as Simicic is going to come out just ahead of Patel. And Brzezinski, who's now 3rd after passing Masciuli's gone purple through the first sector. It's down to 7.2 now between Kiss and Brzezinski, with Bugatti in the middle, just a 1.5 seconds behind his teammate, who was quicker by 0.3 on the last lap. They were equal through sector 1 and sector 2 this lap, so Bugatti just being a bit patient behind his teammate.
And this is the thing that I really admire about the driving of Brzezinski. This week, Kiss and Bugatti have done an amazing performance. Last week it was Quakel. First round it was Parisis, but there's always Kuba Brzezinski is seldom, if ever, not on the podium. You know, when you beat him, you've had a fantastic day, and he's a hard guy to beat. So hats off to Kiss and Bugatti. Awesome performance. But we've got 22 laps now and a 7-second gap. And let's see as Brzezinski brings these tyres in. On his last stint with the medium fuel level, he was doing fastest lap of race on these tyres.
Well, he just did one then. He just did one then. Half a second quicker.
He's down now to 1:23.4. Yeah, stunning.
Manasakis made his last stop as well. He put on another set of primes and he rejoins in 14th behind Valeriano. Simicic did the fastest middle sector last lap around.
Kiss in the lead is lapping about 0.5 seconds per lap slower than Brzezinski, but he may still have something in his back pocket. He doesn't have to wring its neck and cook his tyres if he's got a comfortable lead, and we may find that he just wants to manage his lead.
Well, he might have to, since his tyres, yes, they're a lap younger than Bugatti's, but they're 2 laps older than Brzezinski's.
Yeah, 2 laps, however, 2 laps on these primes, of course, isn't a hell of a lot in reality. I must say.
Nah.
But Brzezinski's still 7 seconds back. Bugatti 1.2 seconds from the lead from his teammate. Now Paris now pits as predicted. And what's Jim going to take?
I'd say a set of primes. Which
Yes,
doesn't
he's
make
gone
sense.
primes again. So Jim Paris is the race winner from Melbourne. 4th place getter in Bahrain. It's gone for the primes.
Why didn't they pit react when the likes of the guys at the front were pitting? That's
I guess he still had
odd.
good pace in the primes that he had. And
Yeah, but you're still going to get undercut. Still going to get undercut.
He might have felt that 21 laps was on the limit for him. Well, in fact, he did it. Jim did a 23.9 2 laps ago, so he didn't have a pace problem with those primes. So he's just managing his final stint length, perhaps.
Oh, he's come out in 9th now, which is still 2 championship points, which could be crucial. He might lose the championship lead leaving here, but it could be crucial to his overall championship come the end of the year.
It's very interesting, you know. I find this track perhaps a little bit like Sepang. You know, it's just got these punishing long corners, and it really has thrown the cards up in the air. You know, it's really shuffled the deck. Oh, don't worry, I won't use any more metaphors. Masculine pitting, by the way, because the drivers who have done particularly well in what I call the sort of point and squirt type tracks like Melbourne and Bahrain, it's a slightly different skill set, slightly different setup philosophy to do well on a track like Catalonia, which has a much more balanced sort of aero versus mechanical grip characteristic.
So Paresis is now 7th because Mashuli pitted and he just went around Mohammed Patel at the end of the front straight. Mashuli went for the tyres where I thought he would go for in the options, which he should be able to get to the end actually rather easily, if I'm honest. But Paresis is now up to 7th, so that's 6 championship points now.
Yeah, that's
which
a good.
Is thinking long term, and Simic isn't that much further up the road either.
Are we allowed to think about the championship now, Daniel?
Now that they're making their last stops, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it was so confusing before.
Yeah, no, indeed.
People were just everywhere.
You got to hand it to Greco as well. Greco's now in P5. Does he have to pit again? Is my question. Ooh, I can't see a pit stop there. Last pit stop on lap 25. I think he's got to pit again. Yep.
Yes, he does.
So that's going to drop him down. Should come out of it still top 10. But
around Mashuli.
Spare a thought for Patel, Godek, Mashuli, Parisis. 47 laps in, and these 4 guys are still occupying a section of racetrack about 4 seconds long, fighting tooth and nail the whole way.
Well, you wouldn't think Patel sort of done what Kiss did in Bahrain. Had a really good qualifying, but he's just struggled for race pace. You wouldn't think Patel was started 3rd on the grid.
Yeah, something about his first stint on the options just didn't work too well.
Well, it was in the pit stops. He just drops back massively, and so I'll have to look at that one post race. Mashuli, D'Alessandro as well. He's down in 11th now. He started 4th.
Now, I'm curious as to what happened with Quakel, because Quakel had 4 second gap to Brzezinski, and is now in 4th place, and he's 4 seconds to the rear of Kuba. So
Kuba got past him before the pit stops. Kuba just outpaced him.
Well, because Kuba was running awesome lap times on worn primes, wasn't he? That's right, he was doing fastest lap of race on worn primes.
Saying that,
Greco pitting now, by the way.
The order of speed of lap time from fastest to slowest in the top 4 was Greco, Bugatti, Kiss, Brzezinski that last lap around. So they're all holding station as Greco pits for a new set of options, which doesn't surprise me at all. And he's going to come out just behind his teammate. He's actually right next to him, just in front of him. So Greco's going to steal the last championship point from his teammate.
and Greco's going to want to do that. Now, nobody on this grid knows more about these tyres than David Greco, it must be said, because David Greco is actually the tyre designer. Without getting too technical and boring the viewers, there were 13 iterations of the tyre over about a 3-week period back in January and February, with everybody testing and giving their feedback. And this final version of the tyre really only was signed off before Bahrain. It's a very, very technical item. There's three depths to the rubber. There's 7 different areas where temperatures come into play, and the way the whole tyre works and interacts with its environment is really quite incredible. And I won't begin to attempt to describe it, but the rFactor 2 simulation tyre is just mind-blowingly good. And David Greco put it all together, so he should know more about these tyres than anybody else.
It's going to be interesting because Godek's on options, as is Mashuli ahead of him, but they're all behind Patel. As Godek's going to have a look? No, not close enough to Patel into turn 1, so Patel might end up with only 1 championship point coming out of this race.
Blair,
these 3 guys behind him
pitting from P16 for options.
Yeah, so anyone that pits from here on will go options. So
Daniel Kitt seems to be managing that gap. He's matching Brzezinski. I don't think he'd be too stressed about Bugazzi, who's a second behind him, but he seems to be managing that gap to Brzezinski because it's been sitting on 7.5 seconds for about the last 5 laps. Quakel, if anything, has gained a touch on Brzezinski. He's now only 2.5 seconds to the rear of the Polish driver.
Well, Bugazzi's actually, they all did, literally top 3 then Kiss 23.8, Bugazzi 23.8, Brzezinski 23.8, and then you've got Quakel who just decides to be different and does a 23.5 on that previous lap. But those, Bugazzi has caught up over the last few laps about 2 or 3 tenths on his teammate, so I wonder if they're going to go back to holding station, or surely team orders wouldn't come in for the championship this early on.
Well, Quakel is the fastest guy at the moment on track, isn't he? By something towards 0.3 of a second. He's running mid to low 123s.
Yeah, Custodino did a 23.4 that last lap, so technically not the quickest car on track. It's even off pits.
Well, of the top 3, because you've got Kiss is cranking out high 123s. Brzezinski is pumping out mid to high 123s, and Quakel is punching out low 123s. So Quakel is on fire at the moment. He's going to be closing this gap down, and he's going to be mega consistent. The gap is now 2 seconds to Brzezinski. And yes, good question. Would there be team orders? I don't think there is. I think that Quakel wants to win the Drivers' Championship. Brzezinski wants to win the Drivers' Championship, and I think we will see these guys race if Quakel is able to get on the gearbox of Brzezinski. And with 15 laps to go, I think it's highly likely that he will.
Thing is, we've got top 4 cars over about 10 seconds, and then the gap from Quakel to Simic is 19. These top 4 have just driven away, as now Eris Mashuli is looking at Marek Godek for P8, but gets the door shut on him. Godek holding on to 8th. Can't battle too much because David Greco is only about a second and a bit behind. So if Mashuli's the faster one, which I think he might be, he needs to get by ASAP.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's been a cluster of cars around from sort of P7, P8 through to about P12, 13 for the whole race, and there's still only 4 seconds of real estate separating 7th and 11th, or 12th in fact. So these guys can still do something. And I wonder if we're going to get any reliability issues. I haven't seen any smoking engines. We've got ambient temp has been dropping. Now, as you mentioned before, we've got 15 degrees ambient. which tends to take a bit of pressure off. The only other thing that could swing the balance a bit is if somebody's been relying a lot on boost, or Manasakis just had a big lose of the rear end there coming out of turn 12, but recovered it. If somebody's relying a lot on boost for their performance and runs low on fuel, because the championship drivers have a limited fuel capacity of 141 litres, and there's only so many laps you can use boost. Most of them.
Miss Shirley's got it done. Shirley's up to 8th ahead of Godek. Costadino's in again, hopefully for his last stop of the race. Those evented cars haven't been the best on tyres today. He's going to come out probably just behind Blair Disley in 16th. Actually, he might just, he will beat him out just. But Mashili's got it done on Godek. He's now going to be under pressure from Greco. And Mashili will very much have his eyes set on Patel just up the road. Will he have DRS? Nope, he's not close enough, but Greco will. Or should. He's not quite close enough on Godek. In fact, Godek went very deep then into turn 10. And Greco piling on the pressure now. Obviously the freshest tyres out of all these guys. So
yes, Godek's tyres are 12 laps old, and with the options, after 12 laps they really do get a bit gummy. So yeah, David Greco should be. In fact, he's pitting now. He heard us and decided to pit. Yes, it's a bit like eating an ice cream in the sun driving on the option tyre. They're absolutely lovely, but they start to melt.
So that's going to put Greco in 9th, Manasakis in 10th at the Alessandro in 11th. He should come out probably just behind Valeriano, or just in front of Valeriano actually.
Meanwhile, the gap from Quakel to Brzezinski is down to just over 1 second. No, it's a second. So Quakel will probably have DRS, depending on how well they get through Sector 3, which they're in now, which is the very turny, low-speed mechanical grip sector. And these guys have access to each other's setup, but they don't necessarily drive with each other's setup because they might like a slightly different feel. And it looked to me like Brzezinski actually got a slightly better drive out of turn 14 then, final corner, and in fact he did, because he's maintaining a good gap to Quakel. But it's just a case now of whether Quakel can attack, get close enough and get DRS. I do believe Quakel's running an aero setting that's going to allow him to have a very strong attack, a very strong top speed. But I think Kuba Brzezinski is the thinking driver as well. I think he would also have set his gearing and set his aero that he's able to defend in the pit straight DRS section, which is really, as Daniel said before, the main overtaking section. The earlier DRS, there's a DRS section after turn 9, which is the very challenging uphill right-hander that the guys are going through now, blind apex. And in fact, Quakel gets his DRS open there, but there's just no way you've got enough room to catch and pass somebody there due to the dirty air in turn 9. But that just gets you that little bit closer to mount a real attack onto the pit straight, as Quakel now closes ever closer onto Brzezinski's gearbox. But Brzezinski will do his best to focus on the exit. It's one of Kuba's great driving tips, is focus on your exit speed. Kuba will focus on the exit and really try to get a massive speed differential down the pit straight.
Oh, Quakel's in DRS now, so
he's in DRS, but it's got to be said he's not exactly hauling him in under DRS, is he? I think Kuba's got low enough aero to fight back, and Quakel is leaving nothing on the table. He is really pushing it to the limit. Massive commitment through turn 3 as he tries to close on Brzezinski. He knows that he's going to have to outdrive this guy. It's the final stint. All the pit stops are done. With 11 laps to go, this is now a race to the checkered flag.
This battle for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th is still on as well. We've got Patel holding 7th. Masculi all over the back of him. Greco's not too far behind Masculi. And Manasakis is about a second back with a front row seat. At the moment, Masculi got really close to Patel down the front straight, but he wasn't close enough to make a move into turn 1, so he's just got to try and stay with him now through the first sector and a half to get DRS down the back straight. What's happening? Everyone at the front sort of staying stationed at the moment.
Yep, Quakel is
so
closer to Brzezinski as they exit the final corner now, but Brzezinski again gets a very, very good drive off the final corner. Quakel hits the DRS button, lowers the rear wing to reduce drag. Noda hits the boost button as well, and he's pulling up closer to Brzezinski, but I think Quakel hit the limiter then. I think Quakel was bouncing on the limiter as he approached Brzezinski, and I don't think it's going to be simple. Massive respect between these two drivers. I mean, Jerome Quakel was the pro champion last year. Very dominant champion, won a lot of races, and I think took the title with 3 races to spare. And bypassed the usual stepping stone is from pro to ace. But if a driver has got such a high performance level, he can be signed straight from pro into a World Championship seat. And that's exactly what he did following the footsteps of Kuba Brzezinski the previous season. Kuba jumped straight from pro to World Championship. But there's a lot of respect between these guys. And one of the reasons that Jerome Quakel moved across to Origin Front Row Racing was to be the teammate of Kuba Brzezinski and fight it out, duke it out with one of the top drivers in the sim racing world. And you're seeing these two guys now absolutely at the limit, trying to work out who's going to have the upper hand. It must be said that in practice, the practicing for Catalonia, which has been slightly abbreviated due to the 1 week gap from Bahrain, the guys haven't had as much track time, but Brzezinski was feeling more comfortable earlier than Quakel. Quakel's been a little bit more dominant in Melbourne and Bahrain. Brzezinski's been feeling really good here in Catalonia by comparison, and certainly has got these prime tyres absolutely singing. And it's not easy to pass.
We just had a change of position. David Greco forcing his way past Eris Mashuli at turn 10 for P8, and now next on his list is Mohammed Patel. So what we have here is Mohammed Patel, who's very hard to pass, and David Greco, who's very hard to keep behind. So this will probably end in fireworks.
Well, we've got 2 enthralling battles, 57 laps into a 66 lap event, 2 enthralling battles for positions in the top 10, and you know, where else can you find that in the sim racing world? It's absolutely unbelievable. Well, fantastic racing.
This battle for 7th has really heated up in the last couple of laps as well. Greco's got past Mashuli, but Menesakis is there as well, and Prynes. It's going to be a bit harder for him being on the harder tyre. He really can't do much, and unless he can have a shot at Patel. But for that to happen, both Greco and Mashuli need to get past Patel, and Mashuli hasn't had any luck with it. See if Greco has any.
I've got a feeling he might manage to get it done, because I think Mo is, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him that, I think Mo is perhaps set himself with a reasonably high wing and gearing for lap time rather than the ultimate top speed.
He just had a massive moment through turn 16. Greco's going to get it done pretty much straight away. Mashuli will get it done as well. And going into turn 1 pretty easily. But Mashuli may have a go at both, and he may have a go at Greco as well, but he's not close enough as he almost hits the back of the Netrex car. So now a complete change. A mistake from Patel cost him 2 places, and it might just cost him 3, because here comes Menesakis as well.
I think I might have some intel for you here, Daniel. Patel is driving with damaged suspension. His wheel is not straight, so I think that might have given us the answer to the conundrum of what's happened to Mohammed Patel's performance today. He's driving a wounded car.
That would explain a lot, and that would explain that mistake at turn 16. That cost him 2 positions to Greco and Mashuli, who have already pulled out over a second. Actually, no, they haven't, because Patel does still have DRS. I thought they might have been a second ahead, but they're not. They're very close to it, though. He's understeered a lot through turn 10
Patel's a driver who never gives up. I mean, his engine's been known to give up. once last season in China when he was in clear air and in the lead after the final stops, and it was his race to win. But Mohammed Patel never gives up.
He's not going to have DRS from Michelian Prediction. No, he doesn't. So Manasakis will have DRS on Patel here. On the same tyre, similar age. Patel's going to make him go a long way around, and he gets it done very easily. Nice move there by George Manasakis.
Now, the battle for P3, it must be said, has kind of cooled down a little bit. There's now a 2-second gap, and it looks a little bit like Jerome's thrown absolutely everything he's got at it, and wasn't able to get past. Brzezinski holding on to the podium position, and Quakel might have just said to himself, well, rather than make a risky move and risk, breaking the cardinal rule of not colliding with your teammate, he'd rather take the points home for 4th place. Thank you very much. Having missed finishing in Melbourne and having won in Bahrain, he might have decided that 4th place will do him fine here on a track where he's not feeling super confident.
Well, it's still going to give him a good championship boost. Obviously, he didn't finish in Melbourne, so he's only got the 25 points that he got in Bahrain. So
he'll bring home 12.
Yeah, he'll bring home. So that moves into 37, which moves into what Paris's is on. Just Paris's is 6 and going to get another 8 points. But it's turning into what we're talking about championship. We've had 3 different pole sitters in the form of Paresis.
Quakel was on pole in Melbourne.
Yes, and then it was Kiss and then Bugatti here. And so far we've had 2 different race winners with Quakel and Paresis. And at this stage it looks like Daniel Kiss might win here, as George Manasakis, who just passed Mohammed Patel for 9th, might have a bit of an issue.
So Mohammed Patel is looking like being in danger, or somebody's got a smoking engine. Who's got a smoking engine?
Manasakis.
Yep, somebody's pushed his temps just that little bit too far. This is not the section of the track where the engine gets the hottest. It gets the hottest through sector 3, because the speeds are so low and there's so little air passing over the radiator, that if it's already smoking now, it means he's carrying over 120 degrees of oil temp, and these cars don't like being over 105 degrees. So Manasakis may find himself blowing an engine.
Had to keep an eye on that, which may work for both Patel and the Alessandro, as it's just gone. It's just given up on him.
And that's one of the criteria that the drivers have really got to manage. You just can't say, well, I'm just going to run radiator level 1 or radiator level 2. You've got to work out, using your data, using your Motec, and in the warm-up, or rather the practice, before you commit to a radiator level, because it's all well and good to have an extra little bit of pace, but you've got to make it to the end. It's stretching the elastic, really, in terms of all the parameters. And Daniel Kiss hasn't had really a lot of commentary. I've got to say, what a superlative drive from Kiss.
I wonder if Bugatti is saving fuel or something, because he's dropped 3.6 seconds back now, and Brzezinski is within 3 seconds.
And 4 laps to go.
Yeah, he won't get to him then. In saying that, it's just come down even further. It's now 1.9.
He's getting very close to him. I think you're right. I think it's a fuel issue.
Brzezinski was a second quicker than any other car in the top 4 that last lap. Brzezinski obviously has fuel to spare, has just boost 2 everywhere. There you go, another 3/10 in the first sector.
Yeah, I think Bugatti's fuel saving. He's in 3rd gear around turn 5.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. No, I don't think there's fuel saving at all. I reckon Brzezinski's boost 2 pretty much everywhere, except for probably the last sector, because he was 4/10 quicker than Kiss. Bugatti matched Kiss in sector 1 that time.
So 62 laps into a 66 lap race, and the podium is not yet settled. You got to love this sort of racing.
Well, Brzezinski just did a personal best to the second sector, 4/10 quicker than Bugatti. He's on him. He's
going to have a
range.
DRS shot this time around. And Bugatti's car is just looking a bit scrappy. I mean, we did say that Bugatti had taken his primes a little bit earlier, but I didn't expect it to create this kind of a margin. So Brzezinski, big attack with DRS and boost. Bugatti going defensive on the inside, forcing Brzezinski to go around the outside, but the pass was done with so much time to spare that Brzezinski is now into second place. Fabulous move for P2. Quakel just a bit too far back. Quakel is 6 seconds further back and settled for P4.
Well, Quakel's still doing similar times to Kiss and Bugatti, but Cuba last lap was 1.1 seconds faster alone. First sector to Daniel Kiss that lap, 3/10 quicker. It gets down to 4.3 with a handful, or 2.5 laps left, so he's not going to have enough time to do it, but he's going to get almighty close.
What a drive. Brzezinski has just lit the touch paper in this final stint on these primes and just absolutely slain it.
Well, another 4/10 through sector 1 then to Kiss. Bugatti a 32.4, he's way off the pace.
I think Bugatti really is suffering from the tyre issues.
He was the first one.
He's just written the check that these prime tyres aren't able to cash. So I think Bugatti is now going to be looking at the lap counter, looking at Quakel, and he's going to be happy if he can just maintain a position on the podium. And if he does so, that'll be a fantastic drive from him.
Okay, so here's the situation. Gap between first and second, Daniel Kiss and Cooper Brzezinski, 3.2 seconds with 2 laps to go. Last lap, Brzezinski was 1.3 faster. It's not enough at this stage. We'll see. Kiss did a 23.6. It's not enough. Brzezinski only did a 23.5. So I'd say Kiss has realised and is responding to make sure he wins this race.
Yeah, Kiss, his car, he seems to still have a pretty solid car under him. Just looking at his steering wheel movements through turn 9, which is a pretty good test. And it looks to me like Kiss has still got a very solid car under him still. And nothing to worry about. And what a superlative drive. If you remember back to lap 1, Kiss and Bugatti fought it out for almost the whole of sector 1 after the start. Daniel Kiss round the outside of turn 3, round the outside of turn 4, and able to impose himself on the apex of turn 5. That sealed the deal between the teammates on the opening lap, and Daniel Kiss has not looked back. They've driven in tandem for the entire race on a very good strategy, and it's only now that Brzezinski's been able to insert himself into this lead pair, and you've got to take your hat off to him really to have come up from, I think he was 10 seconds back at the beginning of this stint, and with an amazing drive on the primes has driven from 10 seconds back to put himself into second place, and now 1.5 seconds to the rear of Daniel Kiss. So Brzezinski, as Murray Walker would say, you can see visually the gap.
Yeah, he's definitely coming down. Brzezinski's got to really have it done by the end of this sector, though. It's really hard to pass in sector 3. So I don't think he's going to get it done even on time. It was just 1 lap too late, was Cooper Brzezinski.
What a finish.
Such
We're going to have
still.
these two guys separated by under a second after 66 laps of racing, and the top 3 separated by 6 seconds.
We're still studying personal bests. Cooper just did a new personal best through the second sector.
He can sniff P1, that's why. He can smell P1.
Yeah, because it's literally just in front of him, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to come up a lap short, about less than a second short, but it's going to be Daniel Kiss who will win here in Spain by 0.4 of a second in the end from Cooper Brzezinski. Francisco Bugatti is going to come across the line in 3rd. Joran Krakel will come home in 4th. Jernej Simicic comes through turn 16. And an impressive drive both in qualifying and the race for Jernej to come home in 5th, just ahead of Jim Paresis. A good recovery drive for Jim, considering he started down in 9th. David Greco from the rear of the field in 21st place will come across the line and finish in 7th, ahead of Eris Mashuli in 8th, Mohammed Patel in 9th, and then Michele D'Alessandro, who was 4th on the grid, is going to come across and finish in 10th. We wait for James Sadler now. He'll come across the line in 11th, ahead of Marek Godak, and then Giorgiano Valeriano, who's just ahead of Blair Disley and Victor Ivanov, will finish 13th, 14th, and 15th, respectively. And Dion Kostadinov, who looks like he's running out of fuel, will slowly.
He's got to grab neutral.
He's slowly going to come across the line in 16th. And then we got our, as Dion slowly rolls. There we go.
Well done.
We officially have a 16th finish. And then we have our retirements: George Manasakis, John-Eric Saxett, David John, Martin Hodas, and Michi Hoyer, rounding out the 21 car field. So,
well, what an awesome afternoon of racing. Incredible driving, incredible strategy, and what more can you ask for? A situation where after the final stops, Podium yet again. Podium had not been decided as the drivers exited the pits for the final stops, and Kiss, congratulations to Daniel Kiss, a really dominant drive, absolutely super piece of driving. Brzezinski, you've got to take your hat off to Kuba, managed to see off Jerome Quakel and managed to fight his way back up from 10 seconds away from P1 to 0.45 of a second away from P1, and to overhaul Bugazzi and grab second. Superb drive from Kuba. And Francesco Bugazzi managing a podium. Awesome result for him as well. So, and congratulations to all of the drivers who finished the race. We had 16 drivers all on the lead lap. And amazing competition. Really, really super race to call. I just enjoyed it. My skin was tingling for that last stint, Daniel.
Yeah, well, just a little bit of trivia for you guys. 66 laps, 0.45 of a second. On average lap time, Kuba Brzezinski was 7 thousandths of a second slower than Daniel Kiss per lap on average. Just a little bit of trivia. But there we go. So we've had 3 races so far in the World Championship Series in FSR this year. We've had 3 different pole sitters and 3 different race winners. So
we've just had a good bit of banter in the paddock. Brzezinski said to Kiss, "I just needed one more lap," and Daniel Kiss said back to him, "Well, that's our strategy was 66 lap strategy, Kuba, not 67 laps. There's a reason for that." So the guy's having a bit of good-natured banter.
The banter is strong.
Yeah.
So our next race for FSR will be at Montreal in 2 weeks' time, where we should hopefully, providing we don't have any ISI issues, have all 4 divisions back, with AMA and ACE on the Saturday, and Pro and WC on the Sunday in 2 weeks' time, April 23rd and 24th. We hope to see you guys then. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.